there's something wrong with this podcast.
Yeah.
I just
thank
had
you.
to do it.
Yeah.
Can I say what the second quote here on the old quote page for IMDb is?
Yes.
On the old, or you're saying, okay, the movie. Got
It's
it.
new. This is a new IMDb page for the movie Old.
Okay, got it.
The second quote is, Charles, I'm a doctor. Jaren, I'm a nurse. My name is Jaren.
Good scene. I remember that scene.
Can I ask, how do they spell is it Jaren? I was confused if it was Jared or Jaren.
This is written Jarin. That's
Correct. That is how they spell it. Jarin.
Yeah.
Not
How
sure
interesting.
Yeah.
Why. I mean, he's allowed to be called that.
Yeah.
Yes.
But I don't know why he's called Jaren. But he's very much called Jaren.
He is called Jaren.
And that is his name.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys know this. He got old.
Jaren?
Everybody
Jaren got,
old.
spoiler alert, dead.
That's the oldest you can be. Doesn't get much older than that, does it?
That's not true.
There are various stages of dead.
Yeah. But like, I don't want to get it. It's too dark. We're
let's
gonna
do it.
Well, it's like,
David.
is a dead teenager older than a living old man?
How long have they been dead for?
Well, I don't know.
I think it all equals out once you kick the bucket.
I just like so what you're saying, like a dead teenager, okay, well they died last week versus like they died in the 12th century. Are you saying the clock keeps ticking post death? I guess that's my question.
I guess you're
age clock.
Right. I feel like you're currently asking, is Casper the Friendly Ghost older than Regis Philbin?
Sure. Absolutely. Because
The
Casper
fundamental question
died
of our
when?
time. Early 1900s?
I don't know. Let's look it up. When did Casper die? How'd he die? Murder?
No,
Drug
he
slash?
he got cold when he was sledding, correct?
His dad
That's
loved
right.
him too much. He gave him a sled just because he was a good boy. It wasn't even a holiday or a birthday or anything. And he had so much fun with the sled that he died of hypothermia. It's the saddest movie ever
Do you
made.
think there's like an alternate universe where Casper could have become Charles Foster Kane?
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah. Like his sled is Rosebud or whatever. Because
Yeah.
Casper's rich, right? Because he lives in a fancy house.
Yeah, and his dad spends the rest of his life building an anti-ghost machine.
Wait, who's his
There's
dad?
a reason I bring this movie up all the
Who's
time.
his dad? Is wait.
His dad is not played by an actor.
There was a
Bill
thing,
Pullman is the human
Pullman.
lead
I
that
couldn't
way.
remember if it was Daniels or Pullman. I knew
Pullman
it was one of them.
is
right.
a current day ghost hunter.
Mhm.
Right,
who-
and Ricci is his daughter.
Right, and
right.
his wife died,
Yes.
and he is trying to reconnect with his wife. They move into this house where Casper's eccentric father, after accidentally killing his son by giving him too good of a gift,
I think
spent the
son
rest of
is
his life trying to
partly
reverse death.
Yeah. Okay.
The
And
movie is strange.
I just remember that at the end he's briefly corporeal and he's Devon Sawa,
Well, okay,
correct?
spoilers
Yeah, and they
for
slow
Casper.
dance and kiss.
But
Right.
then but it's not permanent. He's
No,
No,
it's a wish granted
it's a
by
Cinderella.
the dead
Right,
wife of
Right.
Bill
I think it's
Pullman.
Amy Brenneman maybe
Yes.
plays
The wife of
Pullman.
Oh no, she was. Did Brad Silberling direct it?
Correct.
Okay, yeah, they were married.
Yes,
I don't know if they
yes.
still are.
Yes. So
but,
she comes back to life as like an angel for Casper.
Mhm.
There's this concept they keep on talking about, which is unfinished business, where like Casper's brothers or his uncles rather than him are still around. They haven't
Right.
passed on to the other realm because they have unfinished business they have to resolve. And that his wife perhaps has gone on to that zone where she becomes like an angel. And so to reward Casper, because spoiler, Casper got the fucking anti-death machine to work, but there was only enough juice to make one ghost of Fleshy again. And he gave it generously
Hey,
to
guys,
Bill Pullman, who fell through a manhole after getting too drunk with a bunch of rowdy ghosts.
I don't know. My pants are not fitting right now really like well. I don't know. Is anyone feeling that? Like, I just feel like my
Uh-oh.
clothes are not
Wait.
too loose.
kind of tight.
I feel that way
Yeah.
too, because I lost some weight recently, but I've been getting it back, and now I'm feeling a little
No.
suffocated by my
I
pants.
think this is a reference to what happens to the children in the movie Old.
What
But
are you,
you're not,
what are you talking about?
But you're not okay. Yeah, but yeah, I mean that does happen to the children in the movie Old. Of course, they grow.
Okay,
because they're kids.
Sure.
and they're on the beach that makes you old.
yeah,
Technically, it's the rocks that make you old, but they're on the beach that makes you old.
it's the rocks.
Well, I'm just saying to just make sure to keep, observe me, make sure that nothing
let's
is like
just check in
happening.
with each other in
you know.
like 15 minutes.
Okay.
And then
just,
maybe every 15 minutes after that.
okay.
Okay.
Right.
Anyway, Casper very generously lets Bill Pullman come back to life, and then Bill Pullman's dead wife comes back to reward him by saying, you get to be a real boy, but only Cinderella rules. It's like 2 hours, and then it goes back, and he dances with Christina Ricci, and they kiss, and it's very nice. Then everyone at the party realizes they're levitating because he's a ghost. He's played by Devin Sawa. And then the movie ends with Little Richard singing Casper the Friendly Ghost.
And this is a podcast about Casper,
Right?
the 1995 movie by Brad Silberling.
I believe so, right? Yeah, 95? That's not right.
94,
4 or 5.
95, you know, it looks like 95.
95.
Hey.
Oh,
Yes, that's right. So thank you for exploring Casper with me, which is also about child mortality, I guess, in its way.
Yeah,
Right? That's how we got here.
Yes.
Yes.
But, okay.
Yes.
But no, this is actually a podcast about filmography.
It's a podcast. David's waving his hat. Do the thing. Do the
Do
thing.
the thing now.
Do
Do
the thing.
the thing.
It's a podcast about filmographies, directors who have massive success early on in their careers, and they're given a series of blank checks to make whatever crazy passion products they want. Sometimes those checks clear, and sometimes they get old, baby.
Yes, we do get old. We are all getting old. I mean, someone pointed out every beach makes you old
Correct.
in that time marches on.
Someone had this good tweet that was, show me a beach that makes you young, then you got a movie
And
there.
it's like, whoa.
Yeah.
But you know, you're getting old real fast. That's all.
Yeah, I mean, Ben, I feel like I'm seeing wrinkles on you now that I wasn't seeing 2 minutes ago.
Wait, really?
I don't know. We'll get back to that later. This is a podcast, as we said, usually based around miniseries, right? These filmographies.
Sure.
But the first guy we ever talked about,
Number one. I mean, number two if you'd count George Lucas, I suppose. But number one,
that was
really.
Cheers. This is Frasier,
yeah.
right?
Well, okay, but then what are all the other ones? Are we still
Well,
in
I'm
Frasier?
I'm sorry. I didn't know there was only one season of Frasier.
That's my question. Frasier is the show
Yeah,
starting with M. Night Shyamalan.
correct.
Okay, cool. Just
and then
unpacking that.
Patreon is the new Frasier reboot that apparently will have no other returning cast members.
Hyde Pierce not involved?
I don't. Recent Kelsey Grammer comments have made it sound like no one's returning, and his big story hook for this new
Because
reboot.
he's rich.
No, but like really
This is the
rich.
thing. Frasier's rich.
He keeps on
He's
saying like, no, but
plenty
this
rich.
time he's gonna be like really
Like,
rich.
I don't remember a lot of Frasier plots about how
Yeah.
he was like hurting for money.
Oh,
Like,
he's got like a
don't-
fucking baby grand piano in his apartment.
yeah, it's good. It's true. They're always drinking
Seattle is
sherry.
in a
Sherry
Highlands.
ain't cheap.
No,
Come on.
yeah, but this time he's gonna be like
He's
really rich.
stinking rich. But like,
And also his dad's dead. His brother doesn't talk.
well, this is the thing. Like, obviously, John Mahoney is not with us anymore. His
Yeah.
dad being
R.I.P.
dead is perfectly
Very
plausible. Yeah, he got old, but you can't not have Niles.
I mean, I agree.
Okay.
Is
anyway.
the dog coming back?
He hates that dog.
No, I don't think
He does.
anybody likes the dog.
This is one
What
of
was
my
his name?
favorite.
Eddie?
Eddie.
Yeah, it was.
But the
two
dog was
dogs.
Moose.
Well, Moose was one of the dog that's in The Artist was the second Frasier
Right,
dog.
right.
Right. I can't
The
remember.
first dog was Moose, which I remember because Disney Adventures magazine used to always say there was going to be a movie called Moose on the Loose that was about Moose, the star of Frasier, getting lost, and it was going to be like a road trip movie where he has to get back to set.
Maybe there was only because he's also in My Dog Skip.
Sure, Moose.
Moose was huge for a while.
They were going to make a
was.
movie.
Yeah.
I think he was replaced at some point.
I think so.
I
too.
can't remember. He used to
Um,
look at Frasier. That was the joke.
Well, this is the thing.
He
and
would behold Frasier.
everyone, spin off. How's that going to work? The show's like a hit right out of the box. And everyone's talking about Moose. And you read interviews with Kelsey Grammer from the first season. He's like, every goddamn person asked me what it's like working with the dog. It's a dog. It's not an actor.
Right.
He's like, the dog looks at me. That's not acting. It's not impressive.
I don't know. I saw some of those really funny scenes with the dog, and the dog's given something.
Yeah, he's good.
given
It
something.
looks, I agree.
It's
Yeah.
just the thing of like actors are really trained animals anyway, and they don't like to admit it,
He
right?
does not like to admit
He doesn't
it.
like
yeah.
to admit it.
M. Night Shyamalan, the
Mm-hmm.
Frasier of this podcast, our first guy. And when we were trying to figure out what the show was going to be moving past Star Wars, we come up with this blank check premise.
Yep.
And it's like, well, the obvious guy I talk about is M. Night Shyamalan.
He was yours, and Wachowski's were mine.
Yeah.
Those are the first two guys we brought to the table as like these are the right.
But it
these
just
are the
felt
definitive.
obvious that it's like,
Yeah.
well, M. Night Shyamalan is the exact case study of what we're interested in here. And at that point in time, we thought we were more going to cover people who had like rise and fall arcs in that kind of way, right?
Sure.
Like people who kind of lost
The
it.
Visit hadn't come out.
Visit had come out, we hadn't seen
We
it.
hadn't seen it. That's what it was. Sure.
Now,
Split
I
head.
also just want to say, Marie, I don't know if you know this, but there was a period of time where I was really trying to sell them on the name.
Mm.
What was it?
Griffel
and Simsbury.
What?
He said we needed cleaner branding post Star Wars, and he sent us a doc with a bunch of suggestions. But the ones that was like circled a bunch of times was Griffel and Simsbert present.
Oh, like Siskel and Ebert.
Well, yes, in fact, that is what Ben was going for.
Oh no.
Yep, Griffel and Simsbert.
Griffel and Simsbert.
It
I
was
mean,
a pitch.
we can always, like the new Frasier reboot, reconsider. But just wanted to remind you guys and our listeners that was a thing I had suggested.
That is what the subtitle is for the new Frasier reboot. Frasier, a reconsideration, a Peacock original. Our guest today, of course, for the first time on Main Feed, is someone who does not run the social media accounts for Griffel and Simsbert.
No.
But she has recently become a big part of the Blank Check family. And if you're on Patreon, you heard her on our March Madness updates, where she had a very easy, normal time running the March Madness votes.
No complaints.
Marie Bardi.
Hi. Hey guys.
Philly native.
Now-
threw her name down and said, well, if we're going to talk old, I want to talk M.
Isn't
Night.
Marie mentioned in the Wide Awake episode? Because Marie is
Yes.
in Wide
Well,
Awake,
Mar-
right? Marie is
Fun
here. I'm
fact,
referring to her
I
the
am
third
in
person.
Wide Awake.
Right, his second film.
I believe I was mentioned in the Village episode
Oh,
'cause-
in-
or-
when
'cause David-
Ehrlich was the guest.
I
Right,
think he
right,
was
yeah.
the one who gave us the
Yes.
bombshell info that you were in it.
Yeah. I have a very long history with M. Night Shyamalan.
We're going to get into it.
Yeah, let's get into it.
Yeah,
Let's get into it right now. But yes, but you are in Wide Awake. That is
I
the
am
one.
in Wide Awake. I am a non-SAG background performer. Griffin and David, you both grew
Please
up.
call us Griffel and Sims.
Thank you.
Griffel and Simsbert, you both grew up in metropolitan areas. You
New
know,
York City, I think.
New York
both of
City, I
us.
think
Yeah.
only New York.
I think so.
You
I
guys
think
are only
that's
from
the
New
one
York?
and done. Yeah.
And so you have spoken about, being spotted by casting directors
showing
looking
our
for kids.
ridiculous, absurd privilege. Where
Right.
if you are a fucking spoiled little Lord Fauntleroy who goes to a private school in New York City, you cannot avoid getting brought into 5 open
Yes.
casting calls
Exactly.
because
Well,
they're looking for moppets.
I'm from a little city 99 miles from New York called Philadelphia. And I was in the 2nd grade, and there was an unknown filmmaker named M. Night Shyamalan who had also gone to my grade school, Waldron Mercy Academy in Marion Station, Pennsylvania.
At this
Mhm.
point, for folks who did not listen to our M. Night miniseries, he's made one film. It's called Praying with Anger. It was released, I believe, in one theater. I think it only played at the Cinema Village in New York City. It's a tiny budget film that he starred in himself. So Wide Awake is a big step up, but this is a guy who does not really have any reputation at this
No.
point in time.
Just complete no one. He wrote this movie about his time in Catholic school,
Mhm.
the same Catholic school that I was at the time attending. It
Wow.
starred Joseph Cross
Mhm.
and Robert Loggia, and most importantly, Rosie O'Donnell as a nun.
The reason I saw it opening weekend.
Yeah.
Robert Loggia is the kindly grandpa who's like, it's okay.
Yes.
Wide
Be
Awake kid.
Yes.
You gotta run. Yeah, you gotta
Right.
run. I'm gonna be dead soon.
Right.
I'm
So-
going to a beach.
He's all flashbacks in the movie.
Yes.
Yeah.
All flashbacks.
And he's the kid that Joseph Cross plays is dealing with the death
The
of his
death.
grandfather.
Right.
So
Yes.
a
Of course,
very
this is one of my 5 favorite movies. Yeah.
a very wise decision on the part of production was to shoot it, at an active school.
Mhm.
And they used all of us students as either background or some older kids got featured roles. And it was my first time on a movie set. I was 8.
You got the bug?
I got the bug. I got to sit in a hair and makeup chair to go through the works very quickly. They didn't really do anything to me because I was one of like 60 children that they were seeing that day. But it was very exciting. And then we all got the option of going to the premiere in New York at the Ziegfeld Theater.
Wow.
It was a Miramax production.
Yep.
So Harvey Weinstein was there and Bob Weinstein. And weirdly enough, Al Gore.
Oh.
I'm not.
Well,
I'm
he
s-
wanted America to be wide awake to the threat of climate change.
Yes.
I don't know.
This
I
is
don't know.
99?
No, this is 90. This is
The
98?
film-
Oh, no, no.
97?
Sixth Sense is 90.
6 Sense is 99. This is like
98 or
90s,
97,
97, 98. I was in
So
second
Gore's
grade.
in
and
office.
film came out-
That's the thing I'm trying to establish.
Yes,
film came
Al
out in
Gore's-
March 1998.
Al Gore
Okay.
is currently the vice president of the United States.
Wow.
I still to this day have no idea why he was there.
He
Bill,
still
I
is,
need
in my
to-
opinion, I'm a stop the stealer for that far. I think he's still vice president. I
Sure.
think the rest of it's been staged.
See, I'm just imagining, like, Al knocking on Bill's door of the Oval Office and going like, "Hey, Bill, I need to borrow Air Force One. I
Gotta go
gotta
see Wide Awake.
see Wide Awake.
This is a tie kid.
This
And he needs
kid.
to be wide
The
awake.
movie's
Loja-
called Wide Awake, but he's
Loja's in
asleep."
it. Clinton's hyped up about Loja. I love that guy.
Robert Loja. I'm doing real
Yeah.
half-ass Gordon
Yeah.
impressions. right now.
Can you say lockbox for us?
Lockbox.
Lockbox.
I was
What
on
is
board for Halloween
Lockbox?
in fucking 2000.
That sketch still kills.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's still
The
so
lockbox.
good.
And like I remember I show it to someone. I'm like, he said lockbox. Like you don't need to
have
worry
to
about
understand.
why.
Yeah, not only that, but like he said lockbox, and then Twitter didn't exist, so no one made the joke for 7 days.
Right. Everyone was just like, oh my
Oh my
god.
god! Which,
Yeah.
speaking of, I want to resume the Wide Awake conversation, but it is funny that like the couple times a year we get to cover a new release movie, right? People are like, "Oh man, I can't wait to hear the bits they're gonna do, this and that." I do feel like it's now gotten to the point where it's like SNL, not in terms of our prominence, but like, oh, a debate happens on Tuesday or whatever, and then the next 6 days, everyone's tweeting what jokes they think
Right.
are going to be made. Where I'm
Right,
just like,
right.
I had a bunch of stuff in the chamber, and it's like, I can't do old member. I love old.
It's kind of at this point, it's already been done. And by
Everyone
the time
did
this
it.
episode's released,
Right, that's what I'm saying.
that's why we're going back to the lockbox.
That's why we're going back to the lockbox,
Lockbox.
because all the old jokes have been taken.
I have this urge to do my taxes right now, and I don't know why.
Man,
What's going on?
Did you always have those hairs coming out of your ears?
No, wait, what? Oh my God, they're so long. What's happening
like
to me?
weirdly long.
Yeah.
Like,
Do I need to
like-
shave them? Are they that
I
distracting?
can get you a little clipper that you put in. You can use it on your nose hairs too. I'm seeing a bit of those.
Oh God, I'm hideous. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry you have to
No,
see me like
it's
this.
fine. It's fine. What was the name of the movie that Jack Nicholson and Marlon Brando did together?
The Missouri Breaks,
Oh, God.
1971.
Thank you for having a quick answer. That solved a lot of problems, saved a lot of time.
The Missouri Breaks. I wish someone would have told him.
Marie, question for you.
Yes.
This experience, filming Wide Awake, kickstarts your love affair with the movie making process.
It does.
Now, M. Night, as we said, has no reputation at this point in time. He's not a known quantity, but beyond that, only one movie later, not only is he this prodigy, is he on the cover of Time magazine, is he Oscar nominated, all this sort of shit, but he also then immediately has a thing that made him such a prime subject for us at the beginning of Blank Check, like a brand, right? He's got an
Yes.
identity. People have an idea of what he represents. He remains, if not the biggest name involved with any movie, like kind of splitting the bill. Because you even think about it, the period of time where he's working with like huge movie stars at their peak, the advertising is, can you believe Mel Gibson's in an M. Night Shyamalan movie?
That's
you know?
true. Yeah.
Like,
right.
and half the time he is the biggest name.
I remember it being a huge deal when Bryce Dallas Howard was cast as the lead in The Village because it was like her first thing.
He's going to make
And it
her.
was, that's a star making role.
Right.
It was like the same conversation that people had when Rooney Mara was cast in Girl with Dragon Tattoo.
Right.
Right. It was
Right.
the role every
Right.
20 early 20s
It
actress
was like,
hunting
he's
for.
either
right.
working with the top, he's making stars himself, you know, but it's like everything's right in that decision. What was your memory like of him on set? I'm curious what he was like in those early days, especially before he has any sort of reputation to uphold.
So I was like 8.
Mhm,
So
sure.
my memory of him specifically,
So you were young,
I was very young. It is
not
not,
old.
no, I was not old. I was young. I was about the same age as the little boy. What's his name? Trent?
Casper?
No.
Oh, sorry.
Well,
Okay.
also probably Casper's age as well.
Yeah.
I was, in between Trent and Casper's ages.
Sure.
I don't really remember him on set. I remember him at the premiere
Yeah.
of the movie because it was, you're at the Ziegfeld and then there's like a podium and it's like Harvey Weinstein goes up and he speaks.
Yeah.
And he's a big character.
Sure
Then
is.
fucking Al Gore
Yeah.
goes up and speaks. And then it's this little guy
Yeah.
who just I think Knight must have been like mid-30s at the time.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh, it's this is the guy who made the movie. Like, I knew who he was, but it just did not feel like he was the biggest star at his own premiere.
It is funny how for like 10 or 15 years, M. Night got very caught up with like, I need to seem mysterious. I'm like a master of horror. I'm creating this sort of mystery around me. which obviously hits its peak with like the fucking buried secret and everything.
Mhm.
3 of us went to see Old together. Ben, Marie, Griff. David saw it himself earlier on a mysterious beach. And
It's Crosby Street Hotel, but sure.
There's some weird rocks in the building of
The
that
Crosby
hotel.
Street Hotel.
But when we saw it at an AMC, there was like a pre-movie message before M. Night, and it was just kind of a stark contrast of just like, now M. Night's like a totally avuncular, like, hey, thank you so much for coming out to the sea.
Yeah.
My movie Old. I really hope it scares the shit out of you.
Social media seems to have changed him in that regard because he's kind of active on it, right? And
He's
he's
active-
very like fun dad on
He's
it.
active
Yeah.
on Twitter. A thing that I think is interesting, I was just listening to a podcast on my ride over here to our beach recording studio.
Mhm.
It was an interview he did with this NPR podcast specifically about entrepreneurship and resiliency. I forget the name of the podcast, but I will tweet about it.
Yeah.
He refers to himself as mischievous. And
he is. This guy's a little fucking scamp. I'll tell you that much after watching this movie.
He is an absolute scamp, and he referred to himself as mischievous instead of mysterious because it was, you know, how do you see yourself, Knight, as someone who originally got this reputation as being like a bit of a master of darkness
and getting caught up in
like,
this
that's
Hitchcock
not me.
thing where it's like I have to be playing the role.
Yeah,
all
I mean,
the time.
obviously we covered it in our podcast, and you should go listen back. But the buried secret of M. Night Shyamalan, your first movie role,
right, which I was cut out of,
is he? That's
not
the
all
height,
of us make the final cut of an M. Night Shyamalan.
That's the height of him.
Sorry, Griffin. I'm in the race
his
scene.
own
in my
head
wake.
about his image as the next Hitchcock or
Yeah.
whatever, and he's like, I need to present myself as this like spooky ghost
Right.
man.
Right. It's fascinating, but because as you said, like when you step back, you're like, he's the guy who directed Wide Awake. Like, you're almost surprised this guy's a director. There's something kind of like, you know, there is something impish about him. An interview, I feel like I probably brought this up at some past point in the podcast, but he did an episode of Norm Macdonald's very short-lived Netflix talk show that was incredibly good. And like most of his guests on that show were comedians, right? And you're like, why is M. Night going on this? But I think he's entered this state of being like very candid and open and reflective about everything.
Has he done Marin yet?
Oh, it's a good question. Has he?
I don't think he has, but I mean,
Here's the
it's
thing.
got to be in the works.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. It doesn't look like he has. I don't think he could do Marin because I think Mark Maron, no offense to Mark Maron, probably still thinks of Shyamalan as like, what? That like bad movie director? Because this is the thing that's happened with Old.
Yeah.
It's come out and this reaction has been predictable, right? But it's half people being like, God, it's so great to see this guy making movies that are original and interesting
let's just say,
and doing his
obviously,
thing.
2 movies that no one sees, despite the second one featuring a star-making performance from Marie Bardi. Right. Sixth Sense is a fucking global phenomenon.
Right.
He's a brand. Then it starts to be like, what's the deal? What's the deal? What's the deal?
Sure.
He becomes a joke, bomb, bottoms out. And then he's been on this upward trajectory since we finished the miniseries.
Yes. But I think that...
But Glass divided people, despite being profitable.
I think that among many people...
Yes.
They're just still like, well, yeah, but he like makes bad movies,
Yeah,
right?
I've
You know
had
what I
this
mean?
conversation many times this week when Marie, what are you doing on Friday night? Guys, I'm going to see Old. I'm so excited. Wait, the M. Night Shyamalan movie?
Is it bad?
Well, the reason I'm bringing up the timeline thing is just because I feel like when The Visit came out, people were like, that's surprisingly good. And even people like you and I were like, really? Can it be?
Right.
We watch it, we're like, fuck, it's good. By the time Split comes out, people are like, that looks good. Like, people are surprised.
Mhm.
There's no tongue-in-cheek nature to it. Fuck, that looks good. Comes out, people like it a lot. It's a humongous hit. When Glass was coming out, there was genuine excitement. This guy got his groove back.
I would say, especially because of it's star-studded,
Yes.
it's recalling his past
A sequel
glories.
to 2 movies that people liked,
Mhm.
and then Glass did not win over a majority of the audience.
No.
So now Old, you're back in this zone where it's like, oh, he's now back to very strong defenders and people who just laugh him out of conversation
like,
immediately.
Yeah, I just think there's this, I don't know, we're going to talk about it. I mean, this movie is exceptional.
I agree.
Love it.
It's one of the best movies of the year. I think it's his best movie since The Village.
I
I like a lot of his
That
other
is
movies.
pretty much what
I
we said.
might
walking
agree
out.
with you.
S tier.
I walked out. I think I told you
M.
this.
Night.
I was
Yeah.
like on a high. I'm loving it.
Yeah.
I get a text from a film critic I shall not name,
Uh-huh.
who's a friend of the show.
Was it
a past and future. Yes.
It was.
Damn it.
Well, you
And he's
named
like
him.
nitpicking. He's like, oh, what was up with this? And I was just like, stop fucking talking to me right
Yeah,
now.
right.
I'm on cloud nine.
I'm riding an M Night high.
Yeah, I don't want to. I
Yeah.
don't want to be brought to earth with
we-
your negativity.
Like where the movie ends, we're just sort of sitting there reeling, right? Marie, Ben, and I'm just like, I love this guy so fucking much, and like, I get it. You're either all the way in or all the way out at this point. We've gone through so many cycles with this dude, you know? But like, I just fucking love what he is. I love who he is. I have more appreciation for even like the movies that I feel like I was more critical about back when we did the show. Like fucking After Earth and Last Airbender, you're never going to sell me on, right?
Same.
But the ones I want to go back to are Lady in the Water and Happening. Now I know
Yeah.
you have your
I'm pro
sort
Lady
of
in the
defense of
Water.
Lady
I
in
was
the Water, right?
anti-Happening, but
Happening really, Wahlberg is just such.
I think
Disaster,
Old is
right?
better Happening. Like,
Yes.
you remember
Well, it's far, but yes,
But-
I know.
but
I get the comparison.
when he was doing all the Happening press, his whole thing was like, look, I don't want to be pretentious. I'm not trying to win Oscars anymore. I'm just trying to make the best B movie of all time. And we were sort of critical of that, where it's like, oh, he's like acting like he's above this thing.
Or he's trying to change the narrative after the bad reviews came in.
Right. And this actually feels like, oh, this is like a fucking champagne of B movies. Like, this is elevated Twilight Zone episode. That's
true.
what I
That's-
want from
that's
it.
But it
absolutely
is
true.
it is interesting though, because I mean, yes, he does now refer to himself as mischievous,
Uh-huh.
but he also referred to Old as like Bergman Island, not to steal the title of Mia Hansen Love's movie, but still, I mean, I think there are elements of
It's true.
art film in it.
This is
He's
what I
like
love
watching
about
Wild
it.
Strawberries, and he's like, "Yeah, but what if this guy was at a beach that made me want? Like, what if we like just kind of like hit the pedal to the metal or whatever?"
This is what I love, and this is why I'm just like, look, maybe he's blown his career again, right? Like maybe he was back. Hear me out. I think he was at a point where he had successfully, for a couple of years, killed all of the sort of obvious jokes about him.
He had. It was partly by guess. Yeah, he had basically.
He had, right?
Yeah,
He was in a provisional
but
state
in
where
this
people
under
were
the
like,
radar way.
yes,
Where it
yes.
was like, if I stopped someone on the street and I was like, "Have you heard of Split?" I don't even know if they would have known it was Shyamalan so much.
I
You know
mean,
what I mean?
$150 million.
No, it's
well,
a
they
big twist.
did
I'm saying
after the movie ended.
Right.
Well,
that's
that's-
right. The fucking twist, all that
Well,
sort of
that's-
shit.
that's
It was
fucking
so
true.
triumphant, you know? And it was like, this is a different style. He has dropped his pretension.
But no, but
His
here's-
interviews kept on saying, like, I just want to scare people. I just
no,
want to
but
scare
here's
people.
here's my argument.
Yes.
As much as yes, sure, they knew Split was made by him.
Yeah.
But I do feel like with Split, not for nerds like us so much, but
Mhm.
for the general public, that was the James McAvoy movie,
And
right?
just, oh, this thing looks scary.
But it would like you watch it and you're like, wow, that's that movie where that actor I sort of know
Yeah.
from like X-Men or whatever was really going wild.
Let's
right?
acknowledge another thing, which
Mm,
is,
Blumhouse.
hey, yeah,
Yeah, sure. And
Yeah.
then the
Blumhouse is-
general.
right.
It's a horror. It's
sort
not
of
even
the
a horror
biggest
movie
name.
I saw.
Right. That's the other thing I was going to say is
yeah.
at this point, his career has been going on for like 20 years. And someone like my sister, who is younger, is like, Split looks scary. Should I see that?
Right.
And she does not know that Sixth Sense has a twist ending.
She's not like cackling at the very sight of M. Night's
His name means nothing.
Right. Yeah.
It's just
yeah.
that movie looks scary. It's made by that producer who makes scary shit. The other thing to sort of acknowledge with this is like, and the Norm Macdonald interview, right? He sort of talked about his career bottoming out and feeling like he lost his way and went too far up his own butt and got really defensive. The more people criticized him, the more he doubled down on his shit
Yeah.
and all that sort of stuff. But the other thing he said is like, you know, I got really successful really, really young.
Sure did. He's not that old. How
He-
old is M. Night? I mean,
Now he's
He's-
40.
he's
No,
50
he's
years
50.
old.
He
Okay.
was born
He's
in
50 years
1970.
old.
Yeah.
I mean, look. I mean, unless he's on any beaches.
Right.
The point is, he's 28, 29
he's-
when The Sixth Sense
early
comes
20s.
out. That's his third movie and it becomes one of the 10 highest grossing movies of all time. It becomes one of the youngest Best Director nominees. All this sort of shit, right? And he's like, it was so big. Everyone was like expecting all the shit from me. And I started buying into my shit like too much in all of this. And then he said, like, you know, I think I lost my way. I was trying to prove people wrong rather than doing what made me happy, all this sort of stuff. But the thing he said that I thought was really interesting was he talked about how like he would study other directors' careers, right? And he would go, there's like this point in your career where you have a lot of ambition and a lot of ideas and you don't have the craft yet. You don't know how to make the movie yet, right? And then there's some fulcrum point where the two things collide in opposite directions. your knowledge, your understanding, your experience of how to do the technical thing collides with you being in a pure creative state, you know? And you know what you're doing, but you're not over intellectualizing it. And then from that point on, the two things start to go in the opposite directions again. And it's hard to get it back because you know what you're doing too well. You're trying to replicate success, all this sort of shit. And the thing he said was, I knew I had to be scared again. Like I need to feel like I had something at stake here. So for Split, for Glass, and for The Visit, I said them in a mixed up order. He goes to Blumhouse. He mortgages his house in Philadelphia, and he says, I'm putting my own money into this, self-producing it. I need to feel like this movie needs to be a hit because it's literally my livelihood on the line. So he goes small, he goes insular, he has complete creative control, and those movies are all three financial hits at varying levels. Old is, he's not at Blumhouse, he's a big Universal, he's working with an actual budget again. This is sort of him for the first time in a little while back to playing by the old rules of how he used to operate.
Well, let me complicate this.
Sure.
I was, again, listening to this NPR podcast, the name of which I'm forgetting. Old was an interesting production because it was an entirely COVID shot bubble movie.
Everyone quarantined in the
Yeah.
Dominican Republic.
Yeah.
So
They had to contend with the weather, which sounds, which
Did
is
they
can be
start
intense.
right before COVID?
no,
They started right after?
they started in September of 2020.
Yes.
That's wild.
So
late September.
So I believe it was an 8-week shoot.
Yep.
And Knight bought out the hotel.
Yeah.
And everyone who, was there was fully there. No one was on set who wasn't supposed to be. And it was that he was kind of running his own little universe that he had complete control over. I think the movie maybe cost like $18 million, which
that's the listed budget.
which is it's a budget. It's not compared to what other movies made by directors at his level in the studio system. It's fair. It's pretty small.
But I'm correct. He didn't self-finance this one, right? Or at least not entirely.
I don't know because I feel like he sort of reveals that later. I don't.
He kind of gives us an M. Night Shyamalan.
Because this is not a Blumhouse. It's right.
not.
This
No.
is just a Universal film.
It's big Universal.
And I'm sure Big Universal is totally fine greenlighting an $18 million M. Night Shyamalan movie.
I'm sure
at this
the
point.
movie made back, that domestically
that's an
on
easy,
weekend one
yes.
during Delta, so it's they're not really taking a hit.
Yeah. It is just all interesting. I mean, now I'm trying to figure out timeline shit, but it's like the book that it's based on, I know he read when he was preparing for Glass. Someone found an Instagram post of his when he was prepping Glass that he bought a bunch of comics to try to
Sandcastle.
assimilate himself within the current comics
It's
landscape.
a Belgian, I believe, comic book. But
yes,
from what I've heard,
starting point.
It's right. It's a pretty vague.
Right. He
jumping
liked
off
it, but
point.
more than anything, he liked the basic concept, and he wrote what is largely an original film with that as a starting point.
What if there was a pizza major?
I think the film was supposed to start shooting a few months before September.
Okay, that's
and
what I was trying to figure out.
He did as much as he could before getting to the Dominican Republic.
Okay.
He storyboarded every shot.
Mm-hmm.
Everything that he could prepare for, he did. And then, he gets there and I don't know how he didn't go into the granular details of the script and what was changed post COVID.
Mhm.
It seems very much like it was what is the word I'm looking for? It begins with a G, means you're pregnant with something.
Gestating. Yes.
I was going to say gesticulating, but that's not the right word. It was gestating during COVID.
Okay.
The COVID resonance of the film is very, it's very strong. It does feel deliberate, and I think it probably is.
Yes.
He does say that he, purposely made it 2 settings.
Yeah.
I mean, he was trying to keep it as
COVID
small
bubble movie in that
and
way.
as COVID bubbly as possible.
It's a small group of people outdoors.
Yes.
In a set location for most of the runtime. I mean, it's the same thing as fucking White Lotus, where I was talking about this with Ram yesterday, but HBO was like, we can't fucking film anything. Mike White, if you have any ideas that take place in Hawaii, will give
Right.
you a green light in 2 months.
Yeah.
Hey.
And you're going to have 15 actors who are ready to do
And
it
he's
because
just like,
they can't
rich people at a resort, there's a murder, and they're like, sure,
Yeah.
like, cool. Can
Similarly-
Alexandra Daddario be in it, though?
Right, but
Sorry.
that's the thing. You get all this, like, these fucking great actors because they have nothing else to do. Like,
That's
Old
true.
is similarly kind of ingenious in that way. Bring, bring.
Phone's ringing, but we're in person.
I don't know what to tell you, David. Pick up your phone. Someone has your
Fine.
personal number.
Hello.
Hey, it's Griffin.
Oh, hey, Griffin. You were calling me? We're
Yeah.
in the same room.
Yeah. I'm trying to, like, make the most of it. In-person records. Do something fun.
Okay. What's up, Griffin?
Not too much. How are you doing?
Nothing. I'm all right.
What if you're right now? Is it a bad time to talk?
Well, I'm podcasting with you
Oh, cool.
about
cool.
Old.
Oh, good movie. Good movie.
Great movie. I agree. Glad you agree.
Have you done the ads yet?
No.
Well, you should probably do an ad, right? I think, last I checked, I think this episode's sponsored by Mubi.
It is sponsored by Mubi, a curated streaming service showing exceptional films from around the globe.
You should sound happy about this. They're one of the best out there. They're one of the best in the business.
Yeah, they're really good. And every day they premiere a new film.
Yeah.
They've got iconic directors and emerging auteurs. And
Good
it's
movie.
hand-selected. You know, it's like your own personal film festival. So that's pretty cool.
Now, David, if I know anything about you in recording an episode, you must have that famous laptop in front of you,
I
don't you?
do. And yeah, I have Mubi.com open.
Yeah,
I'm
tell me what's
taking
on
a
there.
look. They got a Cannes takeover right now, which is really cool. You could watch like I'm
James
Not a
or
Witch.
Festival?
Festival.
Okay.
I mean, maybe James is in here. I don't know.
Yeah.
You know, is that a thing you can do on Mubi? Can you like search for an actor?
I don't know. Give it a shot.
Yeah, here we go. James Caan. Let's see. They got any James Caan? I'm not seeing any. I mean, it let me do that, but
Yeah.
instead, some of the great movies that came up are The Tale of the Princess Kaguya. Well, James Caan's a voice in the English dub of that, so that one. That's
was
one.
the result right
Thief.
there.
I'm seeing Thief here.
I don't know if you know that's a good movie.
The Gambler. Yeah, these are good, but I think maybe you know, Mubi also sort of functions as a
Database.
database, so
Let's
maybe
go back
that's
to the main page. Let's say that's a good resource you have, but tell me what's streaming this week.
well. The Cannes. I was looking at this Cannes takeover. You got
I'm
Not
sorry,
a
the
Witch.
festival or James?
All right. Give Me Liberty, which is a really underrated movie. If
Never
not-
seen
if people have you seen that one? I shouldn't involve other people in the room right now. El Topo, though. Once Upon a Time in they got a lot of Nuri Bilge Ceylan.
They have climates.
I'm seeing Once Upon a Time in Anatolia and The Wild
Winter
Pear
Sleep.
Tree. Winter Sleep, of course, winner of the Palme d'Or.
Yeah.
I'm not.
Well, yes. Climates is my favorite. I think that's
some
another
of
one
the some of the spotlights here. We've got City Hall, then the Wiseman documentary, Martin Eden, Hot Communist. They got a lot of
Yeah,
good movies.
yeah.
Okay, look,
Look.
you got some sports stuff going right
Well,
now.
we don't need to talk about that.
Okay,
actually.
fine.
We just did a whole
Let's-
3-hour episode in Space Jam, please.
Well, that's true. Anyway, the thing I want to tell you about Mubi is that you
Yeah.
can try it free for 30 days at Mubi.com/check. That's MUBI.com/check. A whole month of great cinema for free. It's just the cow never showed up.
The Cineast Cow?
That's just surprise.
Demanding much? I called in. I feel like,
No, it's just
what am
surprise.
I? Chopped beef?
Old has a pretty stacked cast of character actors
Yeah.
and good
Yeah.
act. No
Yeah.
superstars, obviously, but like when someone like Thomas and Mackenzie, I'm like, oh, she must be sort of a secondary lead here, and it's like she's not really.
Oh,
she's
what's the other girl? The girl with the Australian actress.
Oh, Eliza Scanlon.
Eliza Scanlon, yeah.
I
right.
was like, oh wow, she's
Absolutely.
in this too.
And she has a pretty small role. It's true. Yeah, I mean,
It's all, it's all kind of established people by and large at these
Pretty
roles.
much.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
is this Vicky Creeps' first major release post Phantom
Right.
Thread
Yeah.
in the
apart
US?
from, she has a brief part in The Girl in the Spider's Web, which
Oh.
we all remember and love.
Uh huh.
course,
It's
we
a
all
movie
got
that
caught.
definitely exists.
We got caught in the web.
We are all caught in the web where she plays. I saw that film. The editor, I guess, of
Okay.
like whatever Daniel Craig, except it's not Daniel Craig anymore. It's some motherfucking the journalism guy.
Sure,
What-
sure. So she's
Some
got a
fucking
small part in
random.
that.
So wait, so she's like the Robin Wright role?
Yes, she's the
Okay.
one at the magazine who's
Yeah.
like, what is your story
Yeah.
about like the girl in the spider's web? And he's like, listen, I can't sleep with you right now. I have to leave. And it's a thankless role. That's
But
the only thing I've seen her in.
I
She's
do
in,
feel
obviously,
like
Bergman
you and I,
Island.
David,
Very
have
excited
spent
for
the last 2+ years or whatever going like, where's Creeps?
Where is
that.
Creeps?
Where's Creeps? Just
She
fire up
had
the
the
pancake
world
pan,
wrapped
man.
around her finger.
Let's make some Creeps.
Let's make some Creeps. Who's from Luxembourg? Vicky Creeps.
Right. She did
She
the
should be, like,
Dosso
Secretary
TV
General
series. She should be Secretary
of the
General.
UN.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
yeah,
And now
right.
she's in Bergman Island. Like now she's starting to do stuff again. But there's like
But yeah,
another
if
big
She's in that
stuff.
movie
Yeah.
Beckett that
Right.
John David Washington is
yeah.
in.
Right.
That,
right.
That's a
right.
movie.
That's a movie. I don't really know much about it, but
Yes.
JDW looking hot. She's in a movie that Barry Levinson made called The Survivor.
Interesting.
That's going to be a TIFF this year, I guess. I don't know.
Okay. It's a Ben Foster boxing movie.
Ben Foster boxing
Oh,
movie. We
people.
all have to make our Ben Foster boxing movie
I
at some
cannot
point.
wait to hear about how he prepared for that role.
Wait, what? What do you mean? You think he got in the ring with someone?
I don't think he did less. I think he
just saw-
probably did much more than he
I
needed
just
to.
saw. Oh, right. I watched Ain't Them Bodies Saints. Foster's really good in that.
I mean, Ben Foster's great.
He's
I
great.
I wish only the best for him.
Yes.
He's great except for when he, whatever, spills the ham.
I tend to love watching him on the big screen.
right.
And I perversely love watching him do interviews talking about what he did for those performances.
See, I don't know about that side of Ben Foster, but that's
Did he like hang out with dead soldiers for The Messenger?
Absolutely. And
Wild.
I mean, the
Gosh.
famous one is that he took all the drugs that Lance Armstrong took, and then in interviews was like, but I wouldn't recommend most actors do that. I just needed to do it.
He's actually good in that movie. That
I'm
movie
sure he is.
I have
He's
heard people like
usually
that
good.
movie.
He's usually good. The funniest thing would be if he like hung out with birds to play Angel or whatever, right? He just like spent 2 weeks with birds.
Speaking of,
do you
age,
fly, man?
time, everything. Did you guys ever watch that Canadian show that was on the Disney Channel? Was it called Flash Forward?
It was him and Jewel State.
Yeah.
No
Yes,
idea
I
what
love
you're
that.
talking
Like
about.
Lil
There was
Jim
another show
Carrey.
called Flash Forward. There are 2 shows called Flash Forward.
He was on Goofy Flash Forward, which is sort of like a proto Even Stevens. And
Yes.
he was playing like Shia Goofball dude.
Yes.
Sure, I mean, because I remember him as a young actor. He was very cute. He was on
Yeah.
6 Feet Under. He was,
But
yeah.
he was like doing the voices and the rubber faces and all that
Yeah.
sort of stuff.
Yeah, geez, here it is.
Yeah.
It's a 1996.
But I feel like there was some sort of time progression element, like the opening like the credits were him and Jewel State as like little kids,
Yes.
and then you see them growing up really
Yes.
fast, and now they're
Yes.
best friends, but
Yes.
also like adolescence. So being a boy who's friends with a girl is kind of complicated.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Ben Foster is not in Old.
He's
but
not.
Old's got
No.
a great cast.
Although Ben
Yes.
Foster feels like he is dying to do a Shyamalan movie. Like you could imagine Ben
he would
Foster.
he would fit in the Philadelphia universe for
Yes.
sure.
That's
Yes.
true. They'd be egging each other
And
on.
Yeah.
you give him like a Rufus Sewell type.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, can we talk
Unraveling.
Rufus Sewell?
We're
Yeah.
gonna talk Rufus.
We
Sewell.
can
We're
we
gonna,
can I guess we can get there, but
we'll get there. We're gonna
Okay.
talk.
Yeah, we need to wait
There's
for the
a-
van to come and bring us to
all
the
right.
Rufus Sewell.
Yeah,
part.
M. Night needs to drive us in the van.
That was an early thing. I mean, like going out of order here, but when M. Night is driving the van and then opening the gate, Marie turns to me. Her like brain is exploding. She's like, "This is the best director cameo of all time."
It is
right?
incredible.
It's something.
He's
let's
literally
get it out of the
driving
way.
you to the
Yeah.
premise of
Let's
the movie
get it out
and
of the
going,
way.
"Come right in. Here you go. Here's the."
And he's literally table setting.
He's
M.
table
Night
setting, and then he
Shyamalan,
goes
and
to
then
a
he's
mountain.
filming them. I
and
know.
it's on a video
Believe
village.
Me. Believe me, I
Going,
saw
I
it.
think the movie's over. I think we've hit the ending.
I believe me. M. Night Shyamalan, as we know,
Yes.
loves to be in his movies.
He does.
Much like Big Al
Yeah.
Hitchcock used to do it.
What's his name? Red Reddy? What was that character's name who killed Mel Gibson's wife?
I believe it is Red Reddy.
Yeah.
Yes. Reddy rings
Yeah.
a bell. Sometimes he's bad, such as in Signs, where he plays the guy who killed Mel Gibson's
Not a
wife.
great performance.
Sometimes you're just like, oh, there's M. Night Shyamalan for a
Yeah.
second.
Yeah.
Right? He's like playing a doctor. who gives
I'm a
you bad
doctor. I
news.
think this kid can see dead people. And you're like, fine. You did what you needed to do.
He finally found the perfect thing. He's good in this movie.
He
So
is.
good.
I think he's good.
He's good. It's a really good.
It's charming
use.
that he's in it.
Well, there's something a little bit squirrely about how he plays on camera. And I will say, I no longer think it applies to him in interviews. But as an actor, there's
No, I
something a
agree with
little
this.
uneasy about him.
And that's perfect for this.
Yeah.
It's perfect for this where he's playing too hard to be like, hey, I'm like nice, chill guy.
He has the one line, because in The Village, he's got that line where he's like, he has to explain like the entire plot of
Also,
The Village or
his-
whatever.
His village cameo is like too fucking clever. And
He
he's out of
can't see his
focus.
face or whatever.
Yeah.
He's like putting, right.
He has the one line where he's like, "Yeah, I watched for like 90 seconds or
Yeah.
whatever it is." Like and you're
Dude.
like,
Yeah.
you're like, "Wait, that's not long." Okay, whatever. It doesn't matter. We're moving
Yeah.
on here. But apart from that, perfect.
Yes,
Perfect. I
perfect.
just loved seeing him.
Me
The
too.
rear window shot with the big camera.
Oh,
So
love
good.
it.
I was delighted.
Well,
I
and
was
if-
cackling.
Yeah.
If we're talking about him being mischievous,
Yes.
It
Little
was
imp.
quite an impish little cameo. He's
Yep.
in on the joke.
He's
Yep.
in on the joke. Finally, he's in on the
I
joke.
Well, was he in on the joke in Lady in the Water?
No.
Wait,
No,
but that's
no,
the one
no,
that he's
no.
into. No, that's right.
No.
I forgot. That's
No.
the apotheosis.
That's
of-
the one where
Right.
it's, you need to tell stories because you help save the world.
But you're saying is he in on the joke, and that's what we're missing about the
Right.
Lady in the
Because
Water.
I need to. I've only seen Lady in the Water once. I saw it like maybe 4 years ago.
Uh-huh.
It's so fucking weird. I don't think I was
It's
prepared for how
very
weird
weird.
it is. What are they called? Snarfs?
Snarfs.
There's snarfs and scrunts, and you know,
Freddie
and-
Rodriguez having one jacked arm.
Yeah.
Yeah, Fred, and you know, Paul
Jeffrey Wright
Giamatti
loves puzzles.
drinking milk
But-
and like convulsing on a couch. I mean, there's a lot of stuff. that
Maybe
happens.
maybe I would benefit from seeing it again in a
Uh-huh.
post mischievous night Shyamalan,
Yes.
frame of mind.
Is that the beginning of his?
I like
Yes,
that movie
right.
a lot, but I don't think that movie is in on the joke. And I think that movie has a lot of comedy and a lot more humor than people were expecting.
It's a very sincerely told movie. Lady
Yes.
in the Water, right? It has that sort of storybook. I mean,
Right.
she's playing a character called Story, but right, like that's what I remember of it. It's got this very
bedtime
sweet,
story by M.
yeah.
Night Shyamalan. Right. I think that was all disarming to people because it was so different than what he was thought of as
Right.
doing. But I think the framing of him in that movie does not feel like it is in on the joke.
But like,
I think that's him reckoning with people told me I was the new Spielberg. I think this is him going, this is who I want to be. I want to be cackling at the top of a mountain
yes.
Mhm.
while weird shit happens to
But
some
this
people who don't
movie
know how to talk to each
Is
other.
his kind of like Spielberg, if an iron girder just fell on Spielberg's head, kind of thing.
Yes.
Down to the like 10 more minutes at the end where you're like, okay, where you're like, do we need the 10 more
Well,
minutes? And I'm like, you know what? I'll take the 10
Like
more
Spielberg
minutes. I don't
starting
mind the 10
out
more
with
minutes.
like, Night Gallery and Name of the Game and then
Sure.
going to Duel and that sort of stuff.
And
You're
Jaws.
like, but I'm saying Jaws sort of becomes a Sixth Sense moment, right? Where it's like, you have elevated this to an art form.
But he wasn't trying to.
He wasn't. Neither was M. Night, arguably.
Exactly.
With
That's what I'm
Sixth
saying.
Sense.
Right.
And then
right.
M. Night was like, you are correct. I did just do that.
Well, then that's the problem with The Happening, The Last Airbender After Earth. He feels like he's scrambling. He
Yes.
feels like he's trying to get
By his own
the old
admission.
glories.
Yes.
Right. You
right.
know, and
right.
like,
And he's like, I got to stop competing with who I used to be. I need to
Right.
do. Right.
old's so good, guys.
It's so good.
I mean, some scattered thoughts on this movie. Okay.
You guys all saw it together. Did you have a good time?
Great. The fuck-
Ooh, can
Oh,
I just set the scene
Wow,
really quickly?
I would like you to set the scene. 'cause I
So
wasn't there.
we
I was asleep because I go to sleep at 9:30.
Ben
we saw
it was-
10:30.
Yeah,
Right,
Ben
yeah.
Griffin and I went to a late screening of Old on Friday night, which
In Times Square.
in Times Square.
Yep.
I mean,
In the city that never sleeps.
The
gets
streets
old.
are filled with ATVs.
they were.
Truly.
We
yeah.
I go up
Tons of
to
dirt
Ben. I say,
bikes and
"Hi, Ben."
ATVs.
It's a symphony of dirt bikes. Ben, his eyes grow wide. His mouth just
Well, because they're
drops
doing the
open.
thing where they fucking
They're
put it
revving.
on
They go
the
on
back
the two
tires and
wheels.
shit.
Yeah,
That shit
sure.
fucking rules.
Yeah,
Yep,
Ben was. It was an amazing prelude. It was even better than Maria Menounos prepping us for a movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we see the movie. We have a great time.
And I think I can say I don't think the three of us have spent much time in Times Square in the last
No.
20 months. So even that is kind of mood setting.
Yes.
But I was pushing like I think we should go to Times Square, and opening at Times Square Eyes is kind of who you want to see an M. Night movie with. I've seen bad ones and I've seen good ones in Times Square when
That
people
was
are.
my big question.
a
How
little
was the
relevant.
crowd?
Great question.
Well, I would argue that maybe we were the only people who were watching the movie.
We walk in, there are like
I'm nodding and understanding.
two people in the theater, right? We're there like 5 minutes before the movie starts. And we all kind of go like, oh, M. Night. People fill in. It's not a sold out screening, but people fill in. There was a woman who was sitting next to me
I
silently.
think there was a couple at the end of our row.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure when we were staying there
Yeah.
after the credits talking, I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure I saw her giving him a blowjob.
A full blowjob.
Interesting.
Not a handy.
Yeah. And I tried to tell you guys, and you guys were, I guess you
too
were
amped up about
you were
it.
too about old. When I'm like, you guys, we should leave.
I was going to say it seemed like she was watching the movie, but I guess
Well,
I
maybe
was
there was
wrong.
enough because they were at the very end
Sure.
of our row. Maybe there was a woman in the. I think there was a woman.
There was
in
an
the
old lady
middle.
who was like in the middle. That's what I was talking
Yeah,
about.
no, there was another couple at the
She
end that were
seemed to
having a
be
good time.
Watching. The old lady was like the one sitting closest to me. Old lady. And then there was like a rowdy group of teenagers, like 15 of them.
Which is what I would expect at an M. Night Shyamalan
So,
screening on a Friday.
I would expect that
right.
was 90% of the audience. There was
Yeah.
one big group. They were sitting like 5 rows behind us, and 30 minutes in, they moved to like 5 rows ahead of us.
Sure.
Well, some of them did.
Yes.
There was a
They
beef. There
split.
was beef going
divide-
down.
You
Con-
love when that happens at a multiplex.
They were joking about beating each other up. It was clearly a joke, but then they also sort of started doing it, but they were laughing while they were
Yeah,
doing
it never felt like it was a threatening situation.
Sure.
But there was like a constant soundtrack of conversation happening during the movie.
Do you remember the thing you said to me? Because if you don't, I'd like to quote it directly, which I think you put it perfectly, about the experience of watching the movie with these young men.
No, you do it.
You said this movie
My
is
memory is really bad. I
this
don't know what's
movie
up.
is
I
so
can't
good.
remember.
M. Night so thoroughly has us in the palm of his hands that even a bunch of teenagers shouting "suck my dick" every 10 minutes couldn't distract you from the work he was doing. Like, it was engrossing. Like, M. Night's back in the zone enough, because some of M. Night's films, that would have broken the spell, right?
Oh yeah.
And then what I added on to that was, at some points in the movie, when something weird was happening or something quiet was happening or there was a pause, they would make a fart noise or do something stupid, right? That would kind of work against the energy of the movie, right? To Ben's point, I don't think it actually disrupted. I think we were so in on it that it wasn't breaking the spell. That having been said, the thing that I found very satisfying was these guys absolutely coming into the screening with their own shit, trying to be bigger than this movie, above it and all that. There were as many moments where the movie got quiet and it was pin drop silent. And I was like, you fuckers think you're clowning on this movie, but he's got you.
It's kind of
Yeah.
got you.
Right, and then the
Yeah,
next
yeah.
scene, they'd go like, "Pfft," whatever. But it's like,
Right.
no, he had you there for a couple minutes. He
Yeah.
really had
It
you
almost
there.
started to feel forced because the
Yes.
movie's momentum, it's going
builds.
so fast that I think it earlier in the showing, they were doing that. And I feel like even towards the end, it became really like less frequent.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Now, look, there are people who hate this movie and they think it's fucking stupid. It's America. You're entitled to your opinion.
Yes.
But I do think this is one of those movies where it's not like the thing that I feel like I'm not used to get dinged for, where it's like, oh my God, amazing premise. And then halfway through takes some catastrophic turn and the thing goes off the rails.
Right.
I have found that the people who don't like this movie don't like it from the beginning. And they're like, this is boring. It's ridiculous. It gets more ridiculous. Or you're fucking on his wavelength and then it just builds and builds and builds and builds. I don't know anyone who liked this movie and then it lost them.
agree with that. People who don't like the movie, right? We're not. It's not like they were like. But I've seen complaints about the ending.
Absolutely.
I don't
Right.
love the ending.
Hmm.
I
You want
love.
to know how the beach makes you old?
I love how the beach. I love the reveal of the pharmaceutical company or whatever that is.
Yeah.
Doing the human experimentation.
Spoilers.
Spoilers,
You shouldn't
spoilers.
have listened to this episode
No,
if you haven't
go
gotten
see
old yet.
Old.
Yeah.
Old. It's about a beach that makes you old.
I did not. I wish that we sat in the discomfort of that moral quandary longer. And
Sure.
we discussed this as we were leaving. And
Yeah.
Griffin, you had a good argument that maybe the movie does, that it has a bit of the end of The Graduate sort of ending with the two kids
That-
who
that
are
is-
adults on the helicopter going back to face the real world, not really knowing what's going to happen and how they're going to deal with their new bodies and their new lives.
I
Right.
think it is one of his better twists if you just look at the reveal of the pharmaceutical studies, right? And then the question is, what is the right note to end on in the aftermath of that reveal?
The question is, what if a beach made you old?
Well, of course. And my second question, my follow-up question is, what is the right note to end on in the aftermath of that reveal?
Right.
And Marie, your immediate take was like, I'd kind of like it if they die in the coral, you cut to the study, and then that's sort of this very bleak, jarring ending, right?
Mhm,
Rather than
mhm.
giving them a victory. And what I said is, I'm still kind of chewing on the ending. I don't know where I land totally. I did dislike it, but I'm trying to figure out like which ending I think leaves you with the most interesting thoughts. My argument was, yes, the sort of helicopter thing of like, what the fuck is their lives
Right.
now,
What are they gonna do? Are they
Right.
gonna like get jobs?
Ends
Do
on
they
this
go to
glib joke of
school?
like, how do you think your aunt would respond if her 6-year-old nephew was a 50-year-old or whatever, right? Whatever weird we should have done in July joke this movie ends on, right?
Sure.
But the other thing I kind of like about it is like, you have this study, those scenes are played very straight, right? It's this very interesting moral quandary of just like, trolley car problem. So what if they let 10 people die on the beach if you're actually curing diseases forever? That's a difficult question. Is it fucking worth it? All this sort of stuff. It's a good kind of Twilight Zone, like,
It's Twilight Zone-y, but again, the whole Shyamalan thing where like,
who are the real monsters?
yes, but also there's a little bit of a sort of like someone got hit in the head in the middle of writing the script. Because I'm
Absolutely.
also like, wait a second, why are they all on the beach at the same time? Can't we just do one at a time?
Well-
There's so many problems with your stupid experiment.
But-
I don't care about
Yeah,
that.
this is the other thing.
Because
It's
they
this
have to
is
be old on the beach.
when we did Shyamalan originally, I had not really like become a Twilight Zone fan, and since then I've watched most of them. And not only that, it's been a show I go to like a lot, especially when I'm in like stressful periods of my life. It's like a comfort food show I rewatch and all of that. And there's something about the style of that show that very few people have been able to replicate or translate or carry over into anything else, including the many attempts at trying to modernize the Twilight Zone, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it is that, like, it is not a subtle show at all.
No.
It is a very theatrical show in terms of performance, in terms of direction. It's a real showcase for both. And it's got big fucking ideas. But there's something about the fact the worst season of Twilight Zone is the one where they were like, what if it's an hour? And they all become laborious.
Right.
When they're fucking 25 minutes long, they're not subtle, but there's something about the economy and the impact and the density of what they're doing that you forgive the cartoonishness in certain things, right? The bonk on the head feeling, because it's like, look, we got to set these characters up in 3 pages because then the setup, the reverse needs to happen on page 6.
Mm-hmm.
And then there has to be the status quo for 10 pages so that we can come with the ultimate reveal or the twist or whatever it is. And he actually has made like a Twilight Zone movie that I think sustains that stuff for 2 hours. Which is
108 minutes.
right,
yeah.
which is pretty fucking wild. And that ending feels like that to me too, where a lot of those Twilight Zone endings, it just sort of goes somewhere else. You have an ending that feels like an epilogue to something else. You go to a different location, you reveal different characters, your perception of the thing was wrong, you go to a different scene, and it's just like, here's its own little capsule story that reframes what you watched before. There's something I like about the starkness of just ending with that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Does it really make sense? No. David, as you said, the organizational thing makes no fucking sense, but there's a point he's trying to make, and he's trying to make it.
I don't care. 'Cause
That's my
just
whole
love
thing.
The metaphor.
I don't care.
The metaphor is just so rich.
Yes.
And like this movie is so sad and beautiful.
Agreed.
It's so
And
sad.
it's so visually adventurous for him, I would
I agree.
say. Or
I want to make this one final point before we get into that. What I do like about the ending, aside from just the weirdness of what's their fucking life now, right? And you've already introduced the question of the morality of shutting down the thing. I like that the ending feels like it might be a little bit tongue-in-cheek, where it's like, look, they got the cops, they took them down, it's triumphant, they're fucking Jurassic Park helicoptering home, the music is swelling, they're enjoying each other, and it's like, they might be the villains. The 2 kids might be the villains here.
I don't know if they're the villains.
Well, what in the name of the greater good is more
but they're
important?
not the villains.
You know what I'm saying? That they might have actually stopped something. I like the question. I'm not saying I think they are. I like the question.
Sure.
I've been thinking about this in this while we're having this conversation. I'm trying to think of the bigger picture. M. Night, what is he trying to say politically, et cetera, et cetera. I've had a lot of climate change anxiety recently.
Mhm.
This is a movie about raising your children during climate
This
change.
is about this is a movie about, maybe it's okay if you're old right now, if you've already lived half your life.
Yeah.
And you're it's okay that we're scientifically experimenting on you, and you've already had a nice you've already went to prom
Right.
and had your first kiss, and you already had those memories. You were able to become a parent.
I think to zoom out, it's a movie about like, what do you do when we're maybe 15 years away from
Yeah.
a complete collapse?
The moon is wobbling.
Right. Like everything's a fucking.
I'm sorry, what's
I'm
up?
not afraid
David's
of the
not.
wobble.
The moon is
The moon is.
wobbling?
Have you not heard about this, Ben?
It's
The moon
gonna
is
wobble
wobbling.
for a little bit, and so the
It's gonna
tides are
wobble?
the tides are gonna be a little saucy for 10 to 15
What the
years.
fuck?
It's wobbling a little bit. A little wobble.
How did it get loose?
It's I don't know. Why don't you?
Moose was on the loose.
Moose was on
he
the loose.
dislodged the moon.
He wobbled the moon.
Yeah. He
That's
gave it a look. He
wild.
gave it a stern look.
What are you gonna do? Sometimes moons wobble. Okay.
Well, but these are the things that M. Night's fucking reckoning
Yeah.
with.
Yes.
I mean, and The Happening is also about what we're doing to the environment. We're making the environment angry.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just
Right.
I think it's something that maybe gets put on the back burner with his work as a whole, because people get so focused on the twists.
Mhm.
But I think he is kind of grappling with big issues in a lot of his films.
And this movie is existential. Like
it's very
He also, a theme that he returns to a lot is like the dignity of children and like
they haven't been corrupted.
right. Well, they haven't been corrupted, but also the fact that, you should speak to them on their level, understand their experiences and what they're going through. And, we shouldn't dismiss them.
Yeah, no, kids are the heroes of what? Like Wide Awake, Sixth Sense, The Visit.
Signs, arguably.
Signs, absolutely.
I mean, Last
Unbreakable.
Airbender, unfortunately. Unbreakable, the
his
son's
kid's
such a
a
big
huge
part.
part,
And
obviously,
Glass,
in
he remains
Glass,
such a big part.
obviously.
The Visit, I mean, that one kid who
The Visit,
raps is
absolutely.
annoying,
The Visit,
but
yeah.
it's about the
Poopy
kids
diaper.
recognizing that something's bad and no
Yes.
one listening to them.
Even
No one
Anya
listens.
Taylor-Joy, you could argue.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, this is the thing. I have not fully formulated my take on this, but I'm working on it. Because, like, you and I were talking about this, David. I hadn't seen the movie yet. You were sort of talking about the complaints people have, right? And when people
You
were
mean like dialogue, things like
people were like,
People
how
love
is it
to-
possible he still hasn't figured out how to write dialogue? To which I say, that's how he writes
that.
dialogue. You can dislike it, but to say like he fundamentally doesn't know how to do it is like what I said to you was, it's like pinging fucking Douglas Sirk for not being naturalistic.
I'm just like, can you dislike it, or can I get mad at you and tell you to shut the fuck up if you don't like his dialogue?
It's a taste. I mean, look,
Sure.
maybe it's cilantro, right? And it fucking hits
But, like,
your
I
tongue
can't, like,
differently.
Where
He
it's like-
is kind of the cilantro of
But he knows
filmmakers.
what he's
the thing
doing.
I
Yeah.
can't stand when people talk about dialogue with like, well, people don't talk like that. And
Who
I'm like,
gives a
they
shit?
don't go to beaches that make you hold ear, you person.
Yeah, here's another thing.
Sorry.
People are fucking weird, okay?
Sure.
Like, I spent this last weekend in New Jersey doing meet and greet shit for the He-Man show, right? For Masters of the Universe. Humble brag. I bring this up only because I spent 20 months being largely in seclusion. Only in the last like 6 weeks I've been seeing people again, right? But even still, I'm not going out into public. I'm not meeting a lot of strangers, whatever. And I had 2 days where I was like meeting a lot of people in very short conversations. Guess what? There is no standardized way that people talk. And I say this because I went through a fucking weekend of having to readjust my brain every 5 minutes to a very different way that every single
That's
person
true.
communicated.
The other thing about it is like, I think his dialogue is very on the nose. When people say things, it's often serving a plot utility. They're
Yes.
saying things that will be picked up later,
He's
or
giving you
you have the
piece-
weird quirk of
Right.
the kid who asks everyone's occupation.
This is my point I'm going to come back to.
But
Go on.
honestly, kids are fucking
That's the
weird
thing,
and they
it all
do
made
that.
perfect fucking
Okay.
sense to me.
Okay,
Look,
so
now,
this is my-
could Vicky
yeah.
Creeps have maybe said that she worked at a museum a couple less times?
Sure.
Maybe.
But
Sure.
he
She works at a museum.
she probably works for the University of Pennsylvania's Archaeology Museum.
That's true. That's a good point. They're from, of course, Marie texts me seconds out of the movie.
Yeah.
Is
Uh-huh.
there a Philly connection? I'm like,
Oh,
don't worry.
it has to be.
They're from
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Philly.
I mean,
Yeah.
a couple weeks ago, I tweeted something that was like, I swear to God, if like
'cause it's
Gael
his
and
first-
Vicky are not Penn professors
Yeah.
on vacation, I don't know what I'm gonna fucking do.
I was half expecting the twist to be that the beach was in Philly the whole time.
Right. I mean,
That they
this is
faked
his-
the plane
the
flight.
shores of the Schuylkill
It was like
River.
a Truman Show style trip where they fell asleep and then they rearranged
Yeah.
everything.
Wait, why
around
is
them.
that? Why, you can't go in the water.
the water?
Can't go in the water.
That's the tell. No,
Yeah.
but this was the thing I was sort of talking through with Marie, right? And I haven't totally come to it.
Okay.
But like, he at this point has now had several movies where you have characters who are like weird computer brain people
Mhm.
who are obsessed
Yeah.
with like stats and facts and
That
numbers.
happening. You've got Wahlberg's always talking
Well,
math.
no, Leguizamo's the one who's like
Leguizamo,
crazy
sorry.
about it.
Yeah.
Leguizamo's the one. Sorry, I forgot.
Right. But when people are like, here's the thing I know very well, even the way that like Unbreakable opens with like, here's how many pages of comic books are printed per year.
Right.
This weird, like very didactic.
Mr. Glass's whole personality is
Right.
like that. The way he
Right.
talks.
And this, you
yeah.
have the kid who's like, I need to ask everyone what their profession is. But you also have Gael being
the
whatever,
actuarial
actuary who
stuff
like
where
has
he's
to
like,
run through the stats.
The 96% chance that
Right.
if you're dying on a beach, you have heat stroke, or
Right.
he's like
and you have
doing
a
that.
doctor
right.
and a nurse and like a fucking
Yeah.
museum master
Psychologist,
and
yeah.
all this sort of stuff, right? I do think, especially with how much his movies are about children, there is this, I want to say sort of like, there is a point of view to that. It is not arbitrary. Even look at like Jeffrey Wright's like, I don't know, I understand puzzles. Puzzles are the only thing I understand.
Sure.
There are all these people who are like caught up in these codes and these languages and these like knowledge bases that they can understand, right? And I think it's all about people trying to make sense of a nonsensical world,
Yep.
especially in movies that are increasingly about absolutely bonkers, bananas things happen to quote unquote everyday people, right? Because he doesn't make movies about extraordinary heroes. He makes movies about people who somehow have these things foisted upon them.
Right.
And I think there is that element of just like, it's about people contending with a world that doesn't make sense. And it doesn't make sense even before the nonsensical thing happens. I also think he is somewhat still confounded by the way that adults talk to each other. And I don't think he is failing to write adults correctly because he doesn't get it. I think he is sort of saying like, it is weird that grown-ups just go like, oh yeah, and the Dow and this and that and the numbers and the da-da-da-da-da.
Mhm.
And that he understands more kids who are able to just sort of go like, who are you? What do you do for a living? Why am I sad? You know, who aren't obfuscating their language and all these weird sorts of codes and
No, I think that's
secrets
absolutely
and
right.
shit like that. David.
Why are you sighing, Griffin?
I'm stressed. That's why I'm sighing. I'm exhaling. It's a physicalization of my internal stress.
Okay, I'm sorry.
You're not going to ask why, my friend?
I mean, there's a lot of obvious reasons, but okay, why
Sure,
are you sighing?
state of the world.
Yeah, right.
Rotten Tomatoes audience score. The reason is because I got a rusty IP.
You got a rusty IP?
I got a rusty IP.
Your IP address? Like
Yeah.
the thing that's sort of like your you know what? I can't explain what an IP address is. I don't really know. But
Well, I
okay.
can explain the premise of what I'm setting up here, which is that
Love you
my
too.
IP is rusty and I need some IP varnish.
Okay. All right.
Did I misread?
Yeah, you misread it.
What
the company's IP vanished, and
Well,
like that's what's
I know
happened
that, and I was
here.
being a little stinker.
Right? You know, when there's a new company
Yeah.
sponsoring the show, and like it's you never know what your takeaway from the copy is going to be, and your takeaway was IP varnish.
It's some friendly hazing. IP vanish. Welcome to the fam.
Look, IP vanish. They're a virtual private network,
Yes.
a VPN, if you will.
A VPN.
Yes, a super important tool, helps you safely browse the internet.
Yeah.
It encrypts your data, what you're reading, what you're searching, what you're watching, whatever it is you're doing, so that people can't be spying on you.
any device, even something like your Fire Stick, what you're
'cause
watching.
You put it, it's all going through the internet.
Yeah.
And what you're doing on the internet is no one's business
Mhm.
but yours. And IP Vanish helps you remain anonymous and secure on the internet. So,
So, I mean, look, can I say a couple of things that you can do with IP Vanish? One, they're giving you anonymous IP addresses, okay? Means your personal IP addresses can't be tracked by anyone else on the web. Number two, you can circumvent any online censorship. IP Vanish has more than 1,500 servers and 70 plus locations.
Pretty cool.
What does that mean? Maybe you want to watch something on a streaming service that is available in your country.
it's true.
That's the kind of thing that listeners of Blank Check might be interested in hearing.
Yeah, it's true.
You also get protection when you're using public Wi-Fi.
Yes. Sometimes we're in public.
Yep. All that data encrypted so no one can snoop on what you're doing. And they got 24x7 support. I know why they wrote it that way, but it makes it sound like it's a limited collab. 24x7
Mhm.
support, you
Right.
know?
But they really just mean
It's
all
a
the
capsule
time.
collection.
You can email, you can chat, you can
Yeah.
call them. They're
You can
here
do
to
that.
help.
Right.
So,
There's
listen.
a deal. There's a deal. We should say there's a deal.
deal.
Here's the deal.
They're offering an incredible set, 65% off. It's just $349 for the first month or $31.49 for the year. Okay, so go to ipvanish.com/check and claim your 65% savings. Their plans start at $349 or $31.49 a year. $349, I mean $3.49 to be clear. It's cheap.
Yep.
This is the time to sign up. With our discount and the current promotional offerings, you can get a VPN for 65% off their usual offering. IP Vanish is the best of the best. It's even rated 4.7 out of 5 on Trustpilot. That's with more than 6,000 reviews. ipvanish.com/check to get the deal and protect yourself online.
I just want to shout out, and I'm not casting aspersions on any other sponsors we've ever had on the show. 65% off is a lot.
It's a lot.
We're
It's a
rarely
big-
able
it's
to
a big
offer that
cut.
big a cut.
It's a big cut.
It's a big cut. Okay. And by the way, can I borrow some IP varnish? Because I'm
you
gonna.
can rusty IP
It's
address.
rusty. The IP is
right.
rusty.
All right.
Okay.
To go like full M. Night auteurism, like just a
Yeah.
little bit of background.
Because at this point, it's such a pattern that there has
Right.
to be, whether
Well,
it's conscious or not, something larger going on. There.
He was born in India.
Yes.
He is an immigrant.
Yes.
His parents are immigrants. His parents are doctors.
He's not
He's-
Catholic. He goes to Catholic school for 10
Yep.
years. He's
Sure
indoctrinated an entire...
Well, Catholic and then Episcopalian, but still
sure.
Christian.
Yes.
The Catholic stuff is especially, having gone to the same school I went to, we had one girl in the school who was Jewish, and her bat mitzvah became stuff of legend because it was so foreign to us.
Sure.
So it was not a very diverse place, and he obviously it was very white.
He's got an odd
He has
outsider insider
an-
status.
yes.
Yes. Yeah.
And I think that is a theme that is he chooses to best express through children.
Yes.
Right.
And his movies are almost always about, to one degree or another, people grappling with their belief systems, right? And sometimes it is overtly religious, and sometimes it is a much smaller kind of thing. It could be tied to a relationship or a sense of self or whatever it is. But that is deliberate. And I watched our buddy Jordan Fish sent me. He did one of those. I get confused which magazine does which fucking YouTube series. But it's the one where it's like the most searched.
The autocomplete.
Right.
It's Wired or GQ or whatever. They're all content.
Right.
Anyway,
and they were asking him some question about like his sense of religion and faith and all that sort of stuff. And he said it's about belief systems for me.
I wish he could have made Life of Pi. We talked about
I
that.
know.
I would have loved to have seen his Life of Pi.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, I like
I
the
like
Ang Lee
I like
movie.
Ang's version.
Yeah.
But
At that point in time, it was like, maybe don't let him do this. And now you're like, would have
Right.
been
Yeah,
cool.
I mean,
it was
it kind of did
it's-
feel like a movie.
it's
Yes.
perfect
he was
material
supposed to do.
for
Right.
him.
Right.
Yeah.
But he was so lost at that
There
point.
was also, do you remember that pre-split, it was announced that he was like going to do his smaller drama, and it was like a faith-based Bruce Willis drama?
Yeah, I remember that.
Not like a
Floating out
fucking
there. Right, not a
fireproof
genre
left
movie.
behind
Right, yeah.
faith-based drama, but it was like, it sounded
like
more
more
like
of a return
Praying
to
with Anger.
or like a Wide Awake sort of thing.
It was like a movie about like a guy having like a mental breakdown, going on like a walkabout to find himself again.
I'm not sure I want him to make that.
I don't
This is
know
the thing.
either.
I
It
think
was interesting that he
does,
wanted to make
he doesn't get to be mischievous in a movie like
exactly.
I
that.
agree.
I do think he works best in genre.
That
and
sounds a
he's-
little po-faced for him.
exactly.
Which plays
and
to
he
his worst
understands that
tendencies.
about himself now.
Yes.
But at the same time, it's like Lady in the Water, he strayed too far into po-face.
Uh-huh.
Happening, he strayed too far into trying to just make an R-rated movie.
Right.
It was kind of like, like whatever. The Happening, the marketing doomed it as much as anything. Well, no, the movie's bad, but whatever.
Yeah, I need
I
to
would-
rewatch
part-
it.
I know,
Parts
me
of-
too.
parts of
it
the
are
movie
good.
are
There are
good.
sequences that are very
that are incredible.
arresting, but that's always been
Look,
true.
it's
Yeah.
also one of
Right.
these things where it's like, I'd love to rewatch The Happening and like it more. I don't know if you ever can fully get past the fundamental miscasting of those two actors. It's like
Yeah.
such a...
It's yes.
So there was a topic on the Blankies Reddit the other day
Mm.
that
What if
posed
a
the
beach
question.
mule?
Well, no, yes, but no. Is
It's a big
this a
question.
bit? Do these
Yep, I
guys
like this.
really
Yeah.
like old?
Is this another Sully thing? And was the Sully thing
we
a
like
bit?
Sully.
Yes. People don't get it.
And as we said, if M. Night is the cilantro of filmmakers,
Yeah.
I'm sorry he tastes like soap to you.
Right.
But to us, the way that I commented in that thread and I tried to explain it is like he makes decisions that call attention to themselves.
Right.
If
Which
we
some
wanna
people
talk-
hate.
Which some people hate, but hey, can we just like talk a bit about his camera choices, which I
want to
think
talk
are
about a lot.
Okay. Yeah.
the most exciting thing about
Well,
this
so-
And
movie.
this is maybe his most adventurous
Yes.
Yeah.
film.
It's
in that
brilliant.
sense.
It's brilliant. It's brilliant. Everything he does with the camera.
There's also
in this is
shit
so
in
brilliant.
this that I don't even understand yet, but I'm so fascinated by the fact that he's doing shit I've never seen before and that he's clearly going for something.
Yeah.
That I want to watch it 8 more times to try to parse.
I mean, it's so good. It sounds so crazy. I read, I think it was Creeps, some interview with her where she was talking about how complicated all the camera moves were. It must have been
yeah.
very, very annoying
Look,
to make.
he's-
because he's like bobbing and weaving so
Yeah.
much.
You know, the camera, it feels very deliberately like a pendulum, which would be in a clock, because
Mhm.
we're all
Tick tock,
fucking tock.
motherfucker.
Weird rhythms, repetitions.
Yes.
We get it set up when our little family checks into their hotel suite, and it appears to be a single unbroken shot of mom and dad kind of getting used to their surroundings, discussing
Yes.
their trip, while the kids disappear into the background.
Yeah.
As the camera continues its unbroken shot, the kids then re-enter and they're wearing bathing suits.
Mm.
And it already is preparing the audience to expect that once we get this kind of shot, something is going to change.
Right. Dude,
People are
will-
going to
will
change.
go
He's
out of the
always
field of
about
vision.
lulling you into weird sort of like patterns and rhythms again, you know, but setting this weird like sense of unease even in the quote unquote normal scenes in the movie.
It's so much better than a jump. It's this sort
Yes.
of like thing where you're like, when's it gonna cut? Something's gonna happen. You know, like that.
Why is that person framed only in the corner?
Right.
Why are
And,
they
like,
gonna
right.
walk
people like
into-
grow bigger than the frame, which I
Yes.
love. Like he like moves in on them where you're like, wait, why is that person's head cut off? Like,
Right.
Is
Right.
there is this masked wrong? And then you're like, no, like they're just like they're growing outside of the frame.
Right, but it's a very deliberate building sense of unease and also setting up certain visual games that he will repeat later of training you to understand how to process some of the images that he's going to repeat. Beyond that, on just a even more simple, basic as fuck level, the movie starts and like 90 seconds in, I'm like, right, it is so fucking good to watch any movie, let alone a major American studio film getting a wide release where there is no arbitrary coverage. And you can fucking
No.
feel
Right.
that. There's not a single shot in this movie that feels like an AD going, hey, you might want to have this just for editing options. Every single shot in that movie is so deliberately thought out that even the ones I don't get, I want to spend time trying to figure out why he picked
Well,
that.
but it also it goes back to, you know, how he said that he had to plan everything meticulously because they couldn't shoot yet.
And he did none of it, obviously.
No,
he did none of
he
it
had-
the normal,
He had
easy way that
time
anyone else
to
would choose.
think about it
Yes.
and make weird choices and storyboard
Yeah.
and then get there and shoot it.
There's that moment when they're on the beach and it's, I guess, the kids who become Mackenzie and Wolf and Scanlon, right? Do you remember what, like, you and I turned to each other and went, what is he doing? Where it's like this very fast moving, it feels handheld, but like
Yes.
CGI assisted, where it's like, it's focused in on one kid and it's tracking with his body. And then when another kid runs by, suddenly the whole rhythm of it changes.
Is this when they're playing freeze tag?
Yes.
Yes.
Because that sequence is incredible.
and I,
think-
was just like, I don't know what he's
I
doing
think
on a
it's-
technical or thematic
yeah.
level.
It's so
and it's
cool.
so
I think it's
cool.
just supposed to freak us out. Like,
But
what
I
is
also-
going on with these kids?
I also don't know how he did that. I don't even know how to describe that. I've
Right.
never seen
How does
anything.
he articulate what he wants to
Right.
his DP?
Right.
I have no idea.
No idea. No idea.
It's fucking cool.
But beyond that, how cool to see a fucking guy at this point in his career, 20 films in, who is still this playful, who is still pushing himself, who
Mischievous.
is still trying shit. This little fucking imp.
Yeah.
Ben, what did you think of Old? I feel like Ben needs to jump in here.
Well, no, I mean, I'll find my moments. I was going to say,
Have you
though,
been hearing us
you were
okay, Ben,
just-
as we've been talking about this movie?
it's been hard to hear a little bit. And I've been kind of getting sleepy, but it's okay.
Stay away.
So I was
Wide
going to
awake.
say a shot I really liked is Rufus, how do you say his last name?
Sewell.
Sewell.
Yeah.
There's like the point in the movie where he's like really fucking lost it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And to me, there's like this really close up shot of his face. And I was like, space madness from fucking Ren and Stimpy.
Yeah.
Like, it is just like,
Ben turned and
I
said that
think
to
you
me
did say
mid-movie.
that during
He
the
said, this is
movie.
literally Space Madness, Ren and Stimpy.
he totally just took on that, like, kind of like I have really fucking lost it.
Yeah.
But then the visual, like, I think really was telling you that too. It was
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
It was great.
Yeah. Yeah. All the weird, like, direct close-ups.
hmm
Contrasted with things like you're saying, David, where people are like cut out of frame, or it's a
Right.
4 shot and all 4 people are at the corners, and you're like, are they going to step more into focus or not?
There
Right,
also,
right.
it seems like he, you know, we all know that he loves Spielberg, and Spielberg is the kind of like North Star in his career as a
Sure.
filmmaker.
And like the king of like the unshowy
exactly
oneer.
Yes.
and if we want to talk about other movies that take place on a beach where something horrible happens, Old is pretty much him experimenting with the idea of, oh, I can't show the shark.
Right.
Yes.
And there are,
That's his
it
challenge,
seems
right.
like he is having so much fun not showing the shark.
Here's another thing. It's like the most fucking universal thing to build a horror movie around, right?
Punching.
Find a single person who is not in some way haunted by the idea of that. If not even literally getting old, losing your faculties,
Getting
you know?
sick, having something
right.
grow inside of you,
Right.
getting cut open.
And it is truly like it's
Yeah.
the
Woof.
silent killer, right? It is a thing that has no physical form, that has no
for sure,
reason,
for
that is
sure.
unavailable.
But also his little tweaks, you know,
Oh.
the rust, the tumor, right?
Yes.
The ways he
Sure.
finds
Well,
clever.
you love logic.
Yeah, of
The
course.
rules.
Right. Yeah,
I'd say
yeah,
just
yeah.
as a backbone, as a
Yes,
spine
absolutely.
of a thing.
No,
I
it's-
remember, like, I don't know if you guys remember this, but Synecdoche, New York
Mm.
was originally announced as Spike Jonze and Charlie Kaufman are going to make a horror movie together.
Absolutely.
They go to Sony.
It's about dying. That's the.
Well, they didn't have a
horror.
premise at
Right,
first.
yeah,
They went
right.
to Sony and they were like, what if we tried to do a horror movie? And Sony was like, money in the bank. And then Charlie Kaufman comes back with this script. And Spike Jonze is like, I don't know if Sony is going to greenlight this as a horror movie. And he was like, well, getting old is the thing that scares me. So that's what I wrote about. And they were
Right.
like, cool, you go off and make that. We cannot release this in 2,000 screens, right?
Right.
Which
right.
I love that movie. And I find that movie very horrifying in
yes.
certain ways. But this feels like
But that
him
movie's-
figuring out how to make a movie about aging that actually plays like a somewhat conventional horror movie.
Yeah, well, but also right. Synecdoche is also it's like about decay and fear of disease
Sure.
and fear of your body and like.
But
you
this
know,
gets
it's
at a lot of those things in a
but
more
but The thing that's
visceral-
so good about this, is Synecdoche is slow.
Sure.
Synecdoche is internal.
Yes.
I love that movie. But this movie, immediately you start to feel the tension of like
Yes.
time passing.
Yeah.
Yes.
So-
Where you're just so anxious of like they're not fucking understanding what's happening to them. They're letting this time with themselves slip away.
And it
I'm
feels
not
like-
thinking like they're
Sure.
going to figure it out
Sure.
and get off the beach. I know they can't
I
get
think
off
pretty
the beach.
early on, it feels like they're pretty fucking doomed, right?
That's what being alive is like.
I agree.
That's why it's such a good
So,
metaphor.
Can I ask a question of you, David?
Yeah.
You are the only one of us
Kids.
here on mic who
I have
has a child.
Got a boss baby.
Wait, do I have 3 kids I have to pick up from school?
Ben, why are you drinking Metamucil?
I just need the fiber.
Yeah, that's my Metamucil. Give it back.
Oh, sorry. Here you go.
I have a kid. That's true. I have a
Yes.
child.
Navi? Is that her name?
Sure. Yeah.
For Cat, we've gone through a couple. Untitled Marvel Event Film 2021. We've gone through a couple different bits at this point.
So
Grafina Benducer sounds gone.
the scene where Eliza Scanlon has to give
Okay.
birth.
So I sobbed at this scene. Okay. I cried. If that's what you're asking.
Yeah, fucking horrifying.
But I also think it's really one of his loveliest little scenes that he's done since like The Sixth Sense. Because Sixth Sense is a very lovely movie.
Yes.
As freaky as it is.
I mean,
yes.
I was there watching you from the back of the stage at your recital, and I'm proud of you every day.
That
The
shit's
scene
so
that
good.
should have won
and,
Tony
like,
Collette the Oscar and
um,
Haley Joel Osment the Oscar.
Right. This the whole scene. Look, old's about people who are on a beach. We're not going to go through the plot, I guess.
The
at this
beach that
point.
makes people old.
The beach makes you old.
The plot
But
is they get old. It
they
gets
get
worse
old.
and
I
worse.
know.
We'll go
There's
over-
various people on the beach. They
Right.
get old in various ways. But like the whiplash of when they're in the tent together.
Oh my god!
And they're talking about how they're, they feel their brains getting old in the same way that their bodies are getting old.
And he does this weird coverage where both of their shots are over the other person's shoulder. You're only seeing the sliver of the eye. You haven't seen them in this new age
but
state.
it's also so intimate. It immediately telegraphs that they are teenagers who are going to fuck.
Well, that's the thing.
Right.
But you're watching and you're like, so is this him, kind of winking at this and he's
Right.
going to let it lie after that? Or is he gonna
Is this him
fucking do
setting
it?
up a scene?
And
that's
then
gonna
when
be-
she's pregnant,
right.
I mean, I was just
Oh.
cackling
Yes.
with with despair.
Well,
I'm
you
like,
just
I
go,
can't
"You
believe
son
he
of a
did
bitch.
it.
I can't
Of
believe-"
course he's doing it. You have to do it.
He goes that hard. He's
Right.
the
But
only
also,
guy who goes
it's
that hard.
it's revealed in the trailer that there's an unexpected pregnancy.
See, I don't think
Yeah,
I knew that.
I don't-
I
think
knew
I forgot
I knew that was
Yeah.
coming.
Right.
I did not know how it
Sure,
would be
how it was
addressed
gonna-
in the
Yes.
film.
And like the
it was
lines were like,
one
and
of
again, and the way
the
his
most-
camera is like,
Oh.
spinning
It-
around, and you hear
you
like the dad in the background being like, "That's how you make a baby," and he's like, "I thought you had to do it like a lot,"
But
like.
yeah.
this is the thing that's wild.
No, but no.
Oh,
Let me try. Let me
I'm
try.
sorry. You have a
Yes,
baby. You have a
daddy.
baby. You have a baby. Yeah.
So that all happens, and she gives birth, and there's the body horror of of her body growing so fast.
Or what did they say about the baby? That it's like because it's so fast that they didn't engage with the baby, so it just
It dies because like you
From
need to
neglect.
feed a baby constantly, like and like
Right,
you can't
right.
like it ages too quickly, like
Right.
when
It's
it's
been
so
6
small.
months and 5 minutes.
And but
or
like
whatever.
and then so like you're just
Ben, by
like,
the way, loved that there were baby bones and then they buried
The
them.
drop, the
Well,
sound
wait,
effect
yeah.
of the dry bone.
well,
Oh
so
my
that's the
God.
thing. But
Yes.
you're
I
sort of
forgot
riding
about
on the
that.
high of all that. We're like Jesus. And then there's that little scene with the two of them where they bury the bones. And I was like, this is the best thing he's done in so long.
It was so profound.
Yes.
Yelling at his dad, like, I'm going to marry her. We're never going to get divorced.
So fucking good.
So funny.
I mean, like, and tying that line back to that really early scene with the kid. What's the kid, the friend? Idlib.
Cool. Also obsessed with codes, puzzles.
Yeah, likes puzzles and all that.
Yeah.
But like, you know, back when Alex Wolff is Little Wolf, or
Yes.
Little Trent, and he's talking to this kid, and this kid's like, you know, I don't have any friends. We're not going to be friends. He's like, we'll be friends, and like then we'll be older, and we'll get mortgages or whatever. There's that line he has about mortgages,
right? Trying to understand the language of adults.
Exactly.
Yes.
And like that, right? That you like twinning that line with his later line where he's like, right, I'm going to do this right, even if I'm on a beach that makes you old,
Yeah.
and I'm going to be dead in a day. I'm not going to divorce my wife, my beach
Yeah.
wife.
Right.
Okay. And our bone baby.
I'm not going to be a crappy adult like you.
Yes,
I know how to
exactly.
be an adult.
And that just that he can throw that in this this like chaotic scene, and we're going to move on quickly, and there's going to be more stuff, and have it hit is so good.
This is also the how do I even say this? You have a moment like that is profoundly sad, ridiculous, and scary at the same time. And I think for some people, they go like, pick a lane. You cannot at the same time ask me to take something serious emotionally, feel the stakes of it, and have it be this over the top. And for the four of us, we happen to be delighted by that.
So delighted.
It's operatic.
Yes.
It is. It feels like a play.
And it
like
does,
at times.
And then like at the end, I mean, the truly beautiful ending, not the end, but you know, when Gael and Vicky are on the beach and they're old and they're not, and I think it's good that they're not like, you know, wrinkly.
I think they're the right amount of old.
I think they did the wrinkling really well.
Right, but they're not like
But
Russell
also-
Crowe at the end of A
it's
Beautiful
so
Mind.
subtle-
or
it's
whatever.
so
Right.
subtle and
like dried
natural.
apple skin around
Yeah,
the
yeah.
eyes and shit.
And
yeah.
like he's got, you know, he's like, what
I
were
think
we talking
they
about?
show a
Right.
hand at one point, and the hand is like an old person's hand. And like I think they are holding hands or something.
That's
and
what I
it's,
love.
Oh god, and like, wait,
His
is it-
little fucking tricks of just bring an old person on set and shoot a hand, and that's worth more than any fucking special effect.
that's like, wait, so he dies, and then she gets up and walks into the water and walks back.
And then she dies.
I've been thinking about that since I saw the movie.
I-
It's such a simple little move that is not explained. And everyone fucking criticizes him explaining everything.
I know.
But like there's like little stuff like that like haunts you. This
Yes.
movie is so
It's so good. It's so good. It's so good. Like two
We haven't even
performance.
talked about mid-sized sedan.
God
We
damn it.
haven't-
Yeah. Fuck. Such a good name. It's probably one of the funniest name or joke about a name of a rapper that I feel like I've heard ever.
What's his real name? Trevor? Derek?
Brendan? I think
got
it's
it
Brandon
here.
or
Yeah.
something.
Is it? My name's
And he's-
Brandon.
Yeah, Brendan.
My parents
Brendan.
are like doctors.
You know, I don't know that
I
actor
need someone
very
to know
well. Aaron Pierre, he's English, but
He's got a great look, beautiful
Well,
eyes.
Wait, how would you know that?
Well, because I Wikipedia'd him.
Oh, okay.
That line in the movie Kilt. We all laugh. I feel like that really went over so well as
But
like a name.
People
on.
were also criticizing the name mid-sized sedan as being too ridiculous, but I would like to remind everyone that there's currently a rapper right now named Pooh Shiesty.
That's good.
So
Yeah.
Mid-sized sedan's good. It's funny.
mid-sized sedan, maybe it's on the other end of the spectrum, but it's honestly like anything goes.
Yeah, it fucking anything goes. Fucking
But
anything
it also
goes.
just feels also like that perfect M. Night dad joke energy
Yes.
too, where
Yes.
he's like, "Well, what's this guy's name?
Yeah,
Mid-sized
mid-sized
sedan."
sedan.
Like it works on every level.
Right. It feels like Gael Garcia Bernal's character should be saying, "What's his name? Mid-sized sedan,"
Right.
and
Yeah.
they're like, "No, his name is like Little Master P." or
Okay,
whatever.
so now
Right.
that was one part of the movie where I feel like I was getting a little caught up on trying to figure out the logic of him and then the body.
Right.
Sure.
Why
That
did
was-
she
They're there
why did she
earlier.
die and he didn't? But it seemed like her sickness was worse.
Yeah, she had MS. He says.
Yeah.
Right.
And I guess she just whatever. They
Walked
got to
into
the
the
beach
water
early
and
and
kicked the
something
bucket. At that
happened.
point
and she
in the
drowned. 'cause she
movie-
drowned.
she drowned.
She's not like dead of old age.
At that point in the movie, I think I thought the aging was connected to the water. So I went like,
Sure.
"Oh, she died
'Cause she
sooner
went in
and
the water,
faster
right,
because
right.
she was swimming in it." Because I was also like, "Well, the kids are growing up faster. They were in the water. The adults were not." So I didn't question at the time because I thought I was ahead of the reveal. But then, of course, it's the rocks. It's all about the rocks.
It's about those damn magnet rocks.
Those damn
You gotta
magnet
watch out
rocks.
for them. But to go through everyone in this cast, so you got Gael Garcia Bernal.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with him. He's an actuary.
I always like watching him on screen.
Oh, so absolutely. Right?
He's
Kind
a
of
calming presence. for
quietly
me.
one of my favorite guys. I always
Just absolutely
Underrate him until I'm watching.
outrageously attractive
Oh,
to
Yeah.
this day.
and let's say a short king. Like I
he's a
always
little guy.
love
Yeah.
watching him on screen and being like, he's 5'6" and not hiding it.
I understand the decision to not have their hair age
Sure.
because they explain that as like, oh,
Dead
hair's
cells.
dead.
Right.
Yeah.
But
Same reason your nails are
I'd love to
growing.
see a little salt.
he's gonna
I'll mix that
look
pepper.
so
He's gonna look so
good.
good.
I know.
He's gonna look so good. He's aged
Ugh.
so well already.
Yeah.
You've got Vicky Creeps as his wife, who has a tumor. So that's her thing. They've all, you
Right.
know, every family has a problem, right?
Right.
But it also, we don't know
Every
whether or
group.
not her tumor is.
She says it's benign.
So I had, sorry, getting a little, TMI about
Get into
Marie's medical history.
Please.
I had a uterine fibroid,
Sure. A problem
which
many
is
people
a
our
common
age
problem that
have, yeah.
people with uteruses have. It went from being nothing to the size of an orange within like 3 months.
And they had to get it out.
And
That's
I had
nothing.
to
Marie,
have
in this movie, it happens in 2 minutes.
Well, right. That is absolutely terrifying. But it's
Right.
one of those things where, like, oh, you don't think it's that big of a deal because the tumor is going to grow so slowly it won't matter, and then
Sure.
it fucking explodes, and it's
So that's the thing. I think
terrifying.
we're not supposed to totally know if like it was always going to be life threatening, or it's just like
I think
the beach
it
is
would have
accelerating
been-
it
I think the beach is accelerating it. I think the fact that
because
she
it's untreated
died
completely.
of the
Right.
fact that
Yeah.
she like died of old age on beach time
Mhm.
meant that it was not like a cancer that had spread
Right,
to the
exactly.
rest
Sure.
of her
It's
body.
just it gets so big because no one's
Right. They
looking
never
at
tie
it.
it
Right.
to a larger.
No.
I hate the rules of it though, where they have to like
Oh.
hold
Okay,
it fucking
Again,
open.
they don't show it.
This
Such a
is
good
what
elevation.
I want to say,
God.
like, the big set pieces of this movie are the concept of what he has dramatically set up is so deeply unnerving that you are on the edge of your seat, right?
And
Where you're like,
and you think
I
you understand. it.
cannot believe he's going to do this. There's no way he's going to do this. And you're sitting and you're squirming and you're recoiling, and he shows you fucking nothing. Multiple times in the movie, right? He shows you fucking nothing.
Yeah.
I mean, you get the one shot when you see the thing pulled out, right? But it is so telling that there's like the shot where we're just like, oh, fuck, shit, fuck, where he makes the second incision, they put their fingers in, and then he cuts away immediately.
Right. You don't see them holding it open.
It is this shot that's like the four heads poking out of the corners of the frame, looking in as he does the thing. Pretty reserved sound effects considering what he's showing on screen. And everyone in the theater is going like, fuck, fuck, fuck,
Yeah,
fuck.
it's
You're not
so
seeing
squirmy.
anything.
Right.
You're seeing slivers of heads.
I mean, I
from
think
her
impromptu
perspective.
surgery is a top make your audience,
Yes.
unsettled.
But he
thing.
knows just
Yeah.
putting the idea in their head's going to be scarier than anything I show. Similar, never showing the baby.
Never showing the baby. No,
When-
except for the little dusty bone.
Right, when Rufus Sewell and Ben Sheard, when Rufus Sewell is going stab crazy at the end of the
It's
movie,
very
you
dark.
set up the device that Gael is largely blind. It's very dark, so you're not seeing anything graphic.
Well, so there's
Versus happening where he's like, "Is that what I'm supposed to do? Am I supposed to be
right. Is it supposed to be
Right.
R rated? But yeah, okay. So Rufus Sewell, an actor I love,
I do too.
who I've seen on stage do all kinds of wonderful things, but I do feel like in movies tends to do like two things.
Mhm.
He plays jerks. He plays like stuffy Brits, right?
Mhm.
Right.
But he is so much fun in this movie,
Yeah,
playing a doctor who is crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, he's
so
schizophrenic. They do say that later
Right.
in the
Sure.
movie.
it took me a while to figure out what was going on.
when he did
He's
the.
schizophrenic.
They do say.
Yeah.
I thought he was just like it was
They say,
senility.
like-
and he
That's
was
what I thought
losing his
too. Yeah, because when
mind.
the Brando Nicholson thing happened for the first time, Marie was like, "What was that?" I went like, "It has to be senility, right? They're setting
That's
up
what I
senility."
initially thought that it would be
Yeah.
some early dementia or whatever.
Yes.
But no, because there's the scene. There's the
You
doctor
hid the
later
right?
is like maybe we should keep the
Yes.
people with
Mental
schizophrenia
health
away
away from
from
physical
right.
health.
Well,
Yes.
I also thought maybe that there was like a racism element too.
Well, there
Well,
is,
absolutely.
but it's just
Right.
like,
Yes.
it's his
It's filtered through his
His mental-
nasty
yeah.
side or
paranoid
whatever.
schizophrenia.
Right.
Right.
But so okay.
But yes, it's like not arbitrary who he targets as a threat in that movie.
You have Abby Lee
Oh, my, can,
doing incredible work
Ba-boom.
as Crystal.
oh
who
my God.
who's got brittle bones.
God, that's the other fucking
because I was gonna say, Griff.
Oh,
Yes, this
that's-
movie.
Oh,
That's the most graphic
That's
he
the
gets. It's not
most
bloody,
whole
but that's
hog.
the visual.
Right.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
I would watch an entire movie about her character dealing with the horror of
Her
aging as a young,
performance.
beautiful
Now,
woman.
I love the way the movie has her vanish for stretches, and then when she's like, "Don't look at me!"
Right.
Like I love that.
Going
I think
like
it's
full
great.
And
death becomes her. Yeah.
it is so grotesque, and you can just tell that Shyamalan is just like reveling in the grotesqueness of it, and it didn't feel like it was necessarily misogynistic to me.
No.
Because I think the actress understood the role that she was playing, and I
She
felt so
is
bad for her.
She's incredibly sympathetic. I mean, there is that sort of like, right, it has that kind of like fairy tale, like, oh, she was too vain and look how she paid
But I
the
think
price.
there's a
but like,
counterpoint to the Rufus Sewell thing, right?
Right.
That they represent a certain kind of very appearance-based, status
his vanity
obsessed.
is like that I must be the great doctor.
I'm
Right.
the
who's
high
so
status
smart.
guy. I have to
Right,
protect
right,
my
right.
family, you know.
But I also think to have, their daughter go through this horrible thing where she's pregnant, doesn't understand that she's pregnant, gives birth, loses the baby, and you see Abby Lee's character just completely struggle with how to deal with it.
She can't even be
She
there in the
can't
moment
be
when it's
there.
happening.
And
Right.
it is, I don't know, I found that to be like a very, that didn't make me think less of that character. I was like,
No,
it's
it's
probably,
a sympathetic
that is
moment.
absolutely how I would react. I would be so
Right.
overwhelmed and horrified.
In that moment, you go, how does anyone deal with something
No.
like that?
That's
How
why
do
this
you
movie's-
survive something like that?
So good.
Yeah.
And the reveal of her bones in her turning into a weird
Ugh.
Spider Woman in the
Yes.
cave is just like, is it the term grand guignol?
Yes. Yep.
I mean, ooh,
That-
chef's
her turning
kiss.
in- I was like, they're gonna do it, and then he did it, and then the little flashes.
Oh.
He just goes so fucking hard. He pushes it past the point that anyone else would go, this is gilding the lily. This is going to
Right.
get too silly.
But we're there with him at that point. If he had done that 20 minutes in, I
Yes.
think you'd be like, whoa, what's going on?
But
Like,
once
you know,
again,
right.
it's almost like there's like a self-selection sort of test at the beginning where it's like, if you're this thrown off by the dialogue in the first 5 minutes, you're out, right? And if you're willing to go with this, then I'm going to slowly build up to the point where she becomes a fucking noodle lady
And
in
I
a cave.
think that's the most visibly graphic part of the movie.
Yes,
Absolutely.
And
it's not like gory. per
no,
se.
but it's the
there-
most-
he
Yes.
led up to it. There was the part when Eliza Scanlon falls off the cliff, and I was like,
Yeah.
"Oh, are we gonna get that fucking shot in Midsummer,
No.
which gave me nightmares?" No, we don't.
No.
we don't
Great.
see it.
Great shot. But right, I'm glad we don't see it.
Yeah, I'm
But
glad. I would not.
That scene's really intense too.
Yeah.
Because it actually has that weird tension of like, wait, like there's a moment where you're kind of like,
She could
oh,
make it.
Is she gonna? Is
this how they
sort of
figure
like
it
the
out?
beginning of the third act or whatever? Right.
Just the confidence of him not cutting once she's up there, only covering her from so far away where it's really hard to parse what is happening. But that the Abby Lee thing is the only time he shows you the thing.
Fully
Right?
Fully gets. I mean,
He
the
fully
Rust
shows
moment,
you the thing that's
which I think is great.
Oh, sure. But that's
But
I
again,
would
sort of
argue-
shrouded in darkness.
Yes.
Sort of like it doesn't go full psycho. Like
I also
his
think
body parts rotting
no, it
off.
looks
or
like
I
he's
would
whatever.
becoming
argue that-
Venom. Like,
right, that
Yeah,
moment's
yeah.
not scary. It's a little triumphant because at
Yes.
this point you're
Oh, no,
like,
totally. I'm
he's
just
become the
saying.
most immediate threat on the beach. Yeah.
You got Nikki Amukaberta, an actress I really like, as the psychologist.
What has she
who's-
been in before?
You know, she's in the David Copperfield movie. She's
Okay.
in. You know, she's like a British theater actor.
I'm
who's,
sure I've seen
like,
her and stuff. I didn't.
The-
Yeah, well, she's in
Plays her. I
Jupiter
couldn't place her.
Ascending. Not a movie. I've only seen that movie like 3 times, so I can't like. But I think she's the captain of the ship.
Has a more blank check thing ever been said on the show? I've only seen Jupiter Ascending 3 times.
She was in The Laundromat, apparently.
Oh.
Okay.
A movie that I saw, but like that has so many characters that I
Yeah.
can't remember. Like,
Yeah.
But she's done a lot of TV. Anyway, she's
Ken
really
Leon, my
good.
favorite, the person who causes me to always disrupt a movie and go, look, that's Ken Leon.
He's so good in this.
So
it's
good.
such a
So
good role for
funny.
him, which
Yeah.
is the sort of nervy,
Yes.
explainer.
Yeah.
Like
But he's also like the nurse, and I'm here, and I'm like very down to earth,
and
and
the
like
fun tension between him and Rufus Sewell, where
Yeah.
he kind of knows a little bit
Yeah.
more. Right.
I will say this. I don't cite this as a criticism, but you, Marie, already calling out that you wish we got to see a little salt and pepper on Gael. Ken Leon famously rocks the gray in his hair very well,
He does.
right? Has been
Yeah.
speckled
I
for
mean,
a very long time.
It's true. Yeah.
He shows up in this movie and it's like very dark, right? Like he's fully sort of like darkened his hair. And I was like, oh, it's almost unnatural color. They're doing this because he's going to age rapidly and get gray. I just wish I could have seen it. I like his gray.
His death is that he just swims away and
Yeah.
tries to escape, and
Tries to
doesn't
be
make it.
hero.
You pop up, his body pops up later, right?
Yeah.
That's Her death is the epilepsy, where it's like, I guess the idea is like the medicine is finally not working.
Right.
Like, that's right. It's worked
they
for a
got
very long
17
time.
years,
Right. And
so-
then like, yeah.
Right. If it's that infrequent, then we've
Then you figure
pretty
it out.
much
you can
solved it.
just,
Right.
you just
It's
give
the
her a
odds,
nice
right.
fancy bespoke cocktail.
Right.
Did you guys? I mean, I just never think about these things. I am kind of like head empty with movies, like because like someone I left the theater with was like I pretty much figured out from the beginning, like, oh yeah, they're being tested on, like, and I no.
I just thought it was a fucking dang ass freak watching that shit. Like I just thought it was
You love that
somebody.
you can see them from right
Yes.
away.
Yes.
It's like, well, look, we're
Yeah.
lab rats,
Yeah.
right? Yeah,
Right.
in some way or other,
I
right?
figured it was some sort of human experiment. I didn't know to what ends, but yeah, once you see someone up there, you're like, oh, we're watching them. They're being watched by someone in the movie. I thought it would be more of a psychological thing, like to
Yes.
see, like more of like a Milgram sort of thing.
I
but-
was wondering if it was going to go into Lost, sort of like more overtly supernatural. The people who are testing them are not human. There is some larger thing at play,
right.
that kind of thing, rather than it being a very specific business thing. And I like the mystery of like, look, these people went on an expedition, they discovered this horrible thing, and we've been able to turn it into something good. We're not going to explain why. Who fucking
Right.
cares why the rocks make you old?
I also
Magnets.
think it's fun that the characters are also trying to figure out what's
Yes.
It made me. I have not seen Escape Room. I
You
hear.
can't tell
telling
me
me I
either.
gotta see this.
I haven't
right,
seen
okay.
any escape room movie.
Marie, you got to escape the realm.
This old made me think of my one time I went to an escape
Mhm.
room, where everyone's kind of banding together trying to come up
Yeah,
with
right.
like
the sort of
you know,
like, I don't know you don't know me. I know with real escape rooms, usually you do.
oh,
know
I
it.
only knew the one other person
right,
in
yeah,
it,
and
so
it's
yeah.
like, but like, right, let's all just like get her thinking, get
Yeah.
her
Right.
noodles baking. Yeah,
I think, look, that is a thing that did M. Night in for a while,
Yeah.
right? That people went to the movie
trying
with the
right.
fucking
okay,
notepad.
okay, I'm
gonna solve it.
I'm
I'm
gonna
gonna
get
get
ahead
Yeah, and
of
I
you.
think he like this movie is so fucking fun.
Yeah.
Besides being, as we said, profound and sad.
Yeah.
It is so fun because M. Night is essentially playing himself, setting the stage, bringing his actors,
Yep.
and
To
then
set.
I could
they
just wait
try
this
and
out.
figure out
lots of food.
they're
Yeah.
trying the
Yes.
whole movie. They are
Some food.
trying to figure out his
Pasta salad.
twist.
Yeah, right.
Absolutely.
Right. So that helped him a lot. That the
Yeah.
characters are like in on it. They're like the audience. But B, at this point, I have just succumbed to like, I want to ride this out. I don't want to try to fucking figure this out. And I get a certain glee from every time he underlines an element going, that's something. I don't know what it is yet. And I'm not going to distract myself from staying in the emotion of the movie trying to solve it. I would rather watch this play out and then at the end be satisfied to see what the things were.
Now, can I ask though, what did we think to your point? What did we think of how he showed the characters not being able to leave? The pressure.
Oh yeah.
That to me was like a thing where I
The
was
thing
like,
where they like black out when they
Mhm.
go.
right. I was
Right.
fine with it.
Sure.
and
They essentially get like aging bends. They can't.
Right.
yeah,
And they
yeah.
explain it enough,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
where
yeah,
the
right,
connection to the bends, it makes sense. And I think it's like that could have not been successful very easily.
Yes.
If maybe you show too much or not enough. And I just think it like I think he really pulls it off.
Yeah.
Because you're essentially showing like, why can't they just leave the beach? And then they don't really show you why, but it still is like a thing where you're not getting too distracted.
I also
by
think
that.
it's so much better that it's like they start trying to leave the beach and the next thing they know they're back on the beach and like, oh, fuck, you know?
Yes.
It's
yeah.
like so much better than
like
them,
the
like
waking up.
reaching a force field. This sort of weird cut and then wake up is just like, well, I
Yeah.
guess it just fucking you're stuck.
That felt the most overtly lost to
Yes.
me.
Yes.
it is quite lost. But that's the thing with Lost too, where you're like, the metaphor's so good. I'm not sure I want.
Right.
Right.
It doesn't need to be explained.
Yeah. And then, I mean, Lost's ultimate explanation is, well, the island is magic. And some people were just like, well, wait a second. Like, like that's all. Like, I
Sure.
mean, obviously there were many explanations with it. But the ultimate explanation was like, look, this island's fucking magic, okay?
Yeah.
And it's always been magic. And anytime anyone comes here, they try and figure out what to do with the magic.
But this is also the M. Night thing once again of just I think his confusion with other people of just like, well, nothing fucking makes sense. Why do any of us do any of these things? Why does any of this operate this way?
Yeah.
Yes.
Can I say something I did not like about the movie?
You are allowed.
Thanks.
Too old.
I think he is so specific with the mechanics of time while they are on the island.
Sure, that's sort of like
defining
30
what the
minutes is
translation-
a
Right.
year or
Sure.
whatever.
Which
right.
I love. I didn't think too much about it. I just trusted him with it. But then when they're swimming through the coral and it takes so fucking long,
They're tugging on. Oh, I'm
and
caught.
I'm like, these people, how long can you hold your breath underwater for? And I know that's like a common suspension of disbelief that, it's always in movies. But it was just that all I'm doing for the past like 90 minutes is thinking about
I
the
agree.
passage of time. That's why I wanted them to die. Or
You just wanted that to be that.
yeah, I just
Yeah.
wanted to stay okay, I want to keep thinking about time and how time eventually kills all of us.
Yeah.
And what's the point of living if not to, just
He's a little
be
bit
with the
having-
people you love.
He
and
right, well, 'cause,
whatever.
like, he
make
has that-
sand castles and
Right.
Yeah.
He has that with Creeps and Bernal.
right, which I
Like,
think is so beautiful.
Right. And then so he's having his cake a little bit,
Yeah.
by having them also escape. And then, but I think the ending is The Graduate. Like, I think
Yeah.
that's what they're like, what do we do now? Where it's like, there's not a lot of triumph in them taking this down. I agree with you. Like, it's
Sure.
not even if they're not the villains, maybe, but like, just the sort of like, yeah, I don't know. Okay.
That cut is so heartbreaking to when they cut to the next morning and then Bette Davis walks out and
Love
you're
to
like,
see her, by the way.
right.
Love
And
seeing
it
Emmett.
feels like the kind of thing that in any other movie you go, oh shit, they just jumped 30 years later. And it's
Mhm.
like, well, they did and they didn't.
Right. Right.
They did, but also this has been like one night's sleep. And your brain is playing that trick of like, oh, what's all the shit that happened off screen that I didn't see? And it's like them sleeping for 3 hours.
Right.
Like this is the brutality of just like
Yeah.
you go to sleep, you wake up, and suddenly you've missed this much of your life, which is sometimes how it fucking feels being a person, especially when you are locked up for a year
Yep.
and a half.
Yep.
I mean,
Yep.
I like the last couple of weeks, I kept on having this thing where when I was like fill out forms, I had to answer it as a question, going like, my age doesn't feel right anymore.
Mm-mm.
And it's
Mhm.
because maybe other things as well, but like fundamentally, this year and a half we lost, it feels like I should be older or I should be younger or like this number doesn't make sense to me anymore. And then after 2 or 3 weeks of having that internal conversation, every time I had to say my age, I realized I had been getting my age wrong.
Were you saying you were too old?
I was saying I was 31 and I'm 32.
Hey.
And I spent 3
Sounds like
weeks
someone's been
every
32.
time 31 came out of my mouth going, that sounds wrong, but believing that I just feel out of whack rather than that I had done the math wrong. And the answer is that fucking year disappeared into a memory hole, what have you, but also just that disorientation of like, how old am I? What number does make sense? What passage of time does make sense where there's that kind of thing of just like, I think those two performances are really good.
Sure.
And they play a very specific kind of comfortable chemistry with each other,
Yeah.
right? Where it's
Yeah.
like those two siblings get along. I like that Emma doesn't have them be fucking fighting siblings, annoying bratty kid, and all that sort of stuff.
They sort of understand. They get
They
each
do.
other's weirdness in a
But-
way or
but, like,
whatever. Right.
Thompson McKenzie and Alex Wolff,
Wolff.
to their credit, I think, do extraordinarily good jobs of playing children, right? And not making it feel creepy, not making it feel like fucking Coppola Jack. I think Thompson McKenzie in particular is pretty incredible at that, as well as
Do you know-
Vicky Creeps playing
Do you know
very
what I
old
was
at the
thinking
end.
of as like we were watching the movie? It was like, fuck, they don't have mirrors.
Yeah, right.
Right.
They
can't
don't
see.
know.
They don't know.
what
The
they
most
look
they
like.
can do is
Right.
look in the water. Basically,
Right.
like, there's
Right,
a
I know
moment like
Abby
that.
Lee looked
Right.
at like a like some sort of makeup case that
Yes.
had a shiny
Right,
surface
the
to
shiny,
see herself, but they can see the other people. They can't see themselves,
Yeah.
and that's like another element of how.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
they, I mean, Thomas and Mackenzie plays that part so.
It's so
Mom,
incredibly
what's
well.
wrong? Why are you looking at me like
Right,
that?
and not playing it like a sketch comedy version of a kid, but really feeling like this is somehow a kid in the wrong body,
Yeah,
right?
so the unsettledness.
But when
yeah.
they wake up the next morning, they're playing them kind of like adults in a way I find interesting. Like this day has changed them so dramatically that like the trauma of this has pushed any childlike innocence or energy out of their bodies.
They watched
right?
a lady break all her friggin' bones in a cave.
Right,
Like, they've gone through some shit.
Exactly.
Bones.
But I like that they're now just playing fucking grown-ups and they're there on the beach and they're sort of like, well, I guess 3 more hours and then we're done, right? Like everything's this resigned sadness before they solve it, before there suddenly is a last chance. Holy mackerel, David.
Oh, I know what you're doing.
You know
there.
what I'm doing
I'm finally
here.
picking up what you're putting down.
Finally, I'm going straight forward on
You're
this.
doing a De Palma.
I'm doing a De Palma. Holy mackerel. I'm saying holy mackerel and I'm spying on some people because I'm in a real Brian De Palma mood right now.
Well, that must be because there's a new season of the popular podcast from Turner Classic Movies, The Plot Thickens.
Yes.
And this season is titled The Devil's Candy.
Ooh, I wonder why.
Well, I think it's a reference to cocaine.
Sure. Also, Bonfire of the Vanities. That was the book that was written about the making of the movie, which was notoriously difficult. Plot Thickens. This is a podcast about filmographies, right? The directors of massive success early on the career.
True.
Yada yada yada. Plot Thickens is covering a lot of similar terrain to us, but they're doing it from the opposite angle. They're really sitting down with these directors, doing long form interviews, letting them tell their own stories. So they did a great season on Peter Bogdanovich, one of the wildest sort
Careers.
of director career life stories in modern Hollywood history. And now they're doing a series on De Palma that rules. I love this show. I'm a big fan.
Yes, this season it's a 7-episode series on his most famous flop, The Bonfire of the Vanities, detailing how this best-selling book became a fiasco on the big screen. You got never before heard interviews with Tom Hanks, Melanie Griffith, Bruce Willis, Morgan Freeman, Brian De Palma, and many more. Morgan
Freeman, I believe, was uncredited on the movie. So
there's a whole thing with that.
I'm aware, but I'm saying it's a big deal that he's credited on the podcast.
He's really good in that movie. It's available now for free wherever you get your podcasts. Look, it's hosted by Ben Mankiewicz. Mank himself and Julie Solomon. These are Ben, of course, works at TCM. Julie's an author and film critic. You're talking about the filmmaking, the screenwriting, the casting, everything about it.
It's like a documentary style series where they talk to the people involved about some of the biggest bounces in Hollywood history. Personal, professional, both.
You're right. It's very aligned with us. It's a really good show. You should listen to it. The Plot Thickens, Turner Classic Movies. Season 2 is The Devil's Candy. It's for free. You can just go listen to it right now.
It's a free thing you can listen to.
When you're done with this show, to be clear.
You have to finish this episode first.
Yes,
That's the one thing we ask. Please show us that kindness.
All the way to the end.
Because we're the ones who told you about this show.
This movie had me thinking a lot about Boyhood.
Sure.
Which
was shot on the beach that makes you old.
It was shot on the beach that makes you old.
6 weeks.
That's
like
a
a
cheat.
Twitter joke.
Yeah, it's
cheat.
crazy.
No one talks
Linklater
about.
has incredible producers who figured that
They're
out.
doing the fucking Merrily We Roll Along on there too.
Yeah.
And Linklater's up on the cliffs. He doesn't go on the
He finished Merrily 2 years
He's
ago.
a coward.
He's gonna sit on it for
I'll
another
say it.
18.
Well, the one guy in it got canceled. That's why it hasn't been released yet.
Is that true? Wait, who's that?
Blake Jenner. But no, Boyhood, I saw it when, it premiered at Sundance, and I was like, wow, this is kind of my first experience of watching a film and maybe seeing the world through the eyes of a parent, like identifying with the parents for the first time.
If you had a boss baby.
If I had So, if I had my own Navi or Untitled Marvel Project 2021, what it would be like to see them grow up and that feeling of not having enough time with them. Everything goes by so fast. And, it's cool that M. Night kind of did the same, was working with the same themes in a different way. It took him, only 8 weeks in one location to shoot.
Yeah, because
he's
on the treadmill, baby.
It is he's on the treadmill. David just flexed his muscles.
He's got 2 weights in his arms.
He's gonna fly now.
Sees Boyhood and he's
the Rocky of filmmakers. He's running up those Philly steps.
He is a Philly. That's true. He's a Philly icon, just like Rocky.
It is kind of incredible that this film works from what I would say are all 3 perspectives of how scary it is as an adult, as a parent, to watch your kids grow old, how scary it is as a child to watch your parents grow old, and how scary it is to grow old.
Yes.
Yep. There you go. You nailed it. That's exactly
right.
That's
does all fucking 3.
Exactly. That's exactly what is so good about the metaphor.
Yeah.
But then also just the movie gets to be playful, gets to be sad, gets to
be visceral,
do
gets to be
sci-fi
thoughtful.
shit.
It gets to be lovely.
And And people are like, no, I thought it wasn't very good. Well, you know what? You're not very good.
My gut instinct right now is that I still probably put Unbreakable as my number 1, Sixth Sense number 2, and this is my number 3, Shyamalan. I think.
Interesting.
That's my gut reaction.
My number 1 is The Village. I think that's his. I love that movie.
You've been
so
Ehrlich
much.
killed.
Is Ehrlich? No,
I'm joking. I love The Village. I'm just saying.
And then I think Unbreakable, Sixth Sense, and then I have Old 4th.
Yeah.
I have Glass 5th.
Glass would
It's
be
a
my
pretty hot take from me.
4th.
I need to think.
I mean,
need
I
to see
like
Glass
Glass
again.
even more than you do. I need to watch Glass again. I need to see this again. I almost saw it a second time today, but
That's the thing. I
ironically
mean, like,
ran out of time.
The Last Airbender, which is a movie I hated.
Yeah.
I can't go back there. But now that I've watched the whole thing,
Right, you kind of.
I kind of want to, but I only imagine that'll make me hate it more. Like, I don't think it's
Watching
gonna
The Last
help.
Airbender feels like being on the old beach, where you're like, where is time going?
Right.
So I haven't seen The Last Airbender or After Earth.
Sure.
Did he write After Earth?
No.
I think After Earth is the only one
Correct.
he didn't write at all. Is that
Correct.
right?
Yes, it's Gary Whitta. I mean, I'm sure he did
yes.
some massaging of the script, but it is.
No, you know what? He does have a screenplay.
He does?
credit.
Okay.
Yeah. What about Last Airbender?
It was
Let's
very
find
much
out.
not.
Certainly
What
wasn't.
is- what
It
is
did
that-
not originate with him.
What is
right?
that movie about?
After Earth?
It's like they land
What
on
should it
Earth.
be about, or
It's
what is it
thousands
about?
of
What
years
is it about?
later.
What it is.
Like, does it touch on the Shyamalan themes that we've been exploring
A
in this
little bit.
episode?
Parenthood,
what,
you know.
what it's about is the fucking father and a son in a spaceship crash on a hostile planet. The twist, except the twist is set up from the beginning, is that it's Earth.
So
right?
it's Planet of the Apes with no
Right.
monkeys.
But you know that from the beginning.
It's an
and it's like,
overgrown Earth,
Earth's become
and
too
there's
hostile. That's why we left.
monsters who can like smell your fear.
The actual thing the movie's about, which is kind of Shyamalan, and I think probably why he agreed to do it, aside from just career desperation of the biggest movie star wants me to do a movie, I'll do it, is that the ship crashes and Will Smith is trapped, and Jaden has to go get help for him. And it's like, you have to go out on your own. You have to be the man. You have to be the adult. I can only guide you so far. At a certain point, you have to figure out how to do this yourself. And it's up to you to find help to come back and save me.
Okay.
So there's some...
Yeah, the empowerment of a child to
No,
go
it of
and-
course thematically ends up being a lot more about the relationship between Will and Jaden in real life than it is about
Right.
the M. Night sort of parent-child stuff that he likes to explore. It's a lot more about like, you go off and be a movie star, and Jaden being like, I don't know if this is what I want to do.
Right. So kind of like Space Jam 2 with LeBron
Yes.
and what's his kid's name?
Dom.
Dom
in the movie.
Dominic Toretto James.
All right, I have a question though for
Yeah.
you guys, because I feel like hearing you both list off your updated ranking,
Mhm.
is this maybe the first, or like, I don't know. I feel like there's so few directors where you guys list late period movies this high up.
Sure.
He is arguably the only guy we've covered who is maybe in his sweet spot after we finished covering.
Well, it's just his weird thing of two sweet spots
Yes.
with a huge dip.
right.
There's not a lot. I mean, I don't know. I'd have to think about it, but like, it's unusual for sure.
Well,
Right.
Did you guys cover L
We did.
in
yeah.
No, I know you covered L, but
Oh.
did you cover it as part of the
We did. It had already come out by
Okay.
the time we did
Because
Verhoeven.
that
Yes.
is one to me where I'm like, oh shit, he's like at the top of his game.
Yeah,
again.
and look, I'm fucking amped as shit to see Vendetta.
Me too.
And I love that A, he made the Ben nickname easy for us, but B, that he's now like, and I'm going to make an American thriller my Jesus movie. And it's like, yeah, just go out guns a-blazing, Paul.
Talk about old. He's old. Right?
He's
Cool.
old. He does not get. I feel like Paul Verhoeven is
23.
not afraid of dying.
No.
Like he's just. We are just seeing all of the beautiful sandcastles that he's building.
If Paul Verhoeven was on that beach, he would start fucking the rocks and saying, I dare you to make me old.
No, you do what like Joaquin does in The Master.
Oh, yeah, he builds the...
Builds a little sand lady.
sand-
Yes,
lady.
right. And then he's like, hey. Yes.
But yeah, Shyamalan's career. I mean, it's so funny because I do. You say Shyamalan is the Frasier of
Uh-huh.
Blank Check.
Yeah.
I kind of I think he's kind of like the Godfather of this podcast. Not Godfather the movie,
No,
but just
he
like
is.
he is the like.
The concept of doing
He
this
is. He's-
only really
Yeah.
crystallized around him as an example.
He's the little seed that got planted or
Absolutely.
whatever.
And it's just
And it got old.
I love that
It got old.
his narrative. It's it's still evolving.
And also, much like Frasier, it's like he didn't just try to do Cheers again. His second wave, right after his Valley, is him figuring out how to take some of the stuff that used to work and putting it in a new, dare I say
Seattle?
patina.
Oh.
Yes.
Oh.
All right.
All right. Well,
Let's play the box.
let's play the box
game.
game. Any final thoughts?
Wait,
And
how
your
are we
voice
playing the?
is sounding a little
There's a box office.
croaky. It's what is it today? Wednesday? Tuesday?
Wednesday. It's Tuesday.
It's Tuesday. I don't even know.
Wait,
Time's moving.
what year is it?
Oh, no.
2021.
Ben got old.
Yeah. All right. Ben got old. All right.
You don't like it?
No, I love it. I just think he messed up asking what year is it, because it's like, well, I don't really know. If
Yeah,
that
I
actually
didn't know
makes
how to
a
yes and
difference,
that one.
Bro, it's like, should I say a different year?
Right.
Like,
Does he think it's earlier or later?
and Ben I said the year, and Ben was just
Whoa,
like,
some dirt bikes just
Hey,
rode
come
by.
on.
Wait a
Don't
second.
drive around fast like that.
Aren't
Ben's
there
waving a
speed bumps
cane.
on your street?
No, but there should
There
be. I'm
should
writing
be.
9 congressmen.
You're right. Well, I would write your city councilman. Your congressman.
He doesn't know. He's too old. He doesn't
He's
know. who
too
to
damn
write
old.
to.
He's getting out a typewriter right now.
Is that got a candle?
No, there's a box office, of course.
Well, for like this week,
yeah.
how fun is that to guess? We all know the answers.
Well, we can
Well,
talk
let's
about
see.
the movies. Of the
Okay,
week.
let's talk
I'll
about
say
the other
this.
movies.
I'll say this though, okay? A thing I found with the box office that's weird is I think we're still in the point where you have movies in the top 10 that are making well under $1 million.
There's only one
There's only one. Okay, so that's progress.
And Old was the lowest grossing number one
in a long time.
a long ass
in a
time.
long ass time.
Although it is one of those weird box offices where it's like a lot of movies are sort of close together and gross and all that.
I mean, obviously outgross like War with Grandpa, but if you're talking like theaters being reopened, it's a low number one.
Well, before we get into the box office game, but this is relevant to movies that are currently being released. So, David, we had a very strange experience as we left the theater
Okay.
for Old. There's
oh boy.
there was a huge poster, like it took up the entire wall
Okay.
at the multiplex
Sure.
for
And
this.
we're in a post Shyamalan say we're uneasy, we're
Yeah,
questioning reality
What,
around
again,
us.
what year is it?
Right.
What time is it? My God, how long were we in that theater for?
And let's make it clear, we walk into the theater. We're not running late, but the movie's like 5 minutes away from starting. We want to get snacks. So we see this, we clock this, we crack a couple jokes about it, but it's not until we walk out of the theater that we really step back to it. The theater's closed, there are no more showings, and we're like, let's really examine this.
So there's a movie that was supposed to come out this week.
The Comeback Trail?
So that's the movie with Robert De Niro. right?
Yes.
David, let me tell you the billing on this movie.
Yeah. I mean, I'm aware of this movie.
Academy Award winner Robert De Niro.
Yep.
Academy Award winner Tommy Lee Jones.
Yep.
Academy Award winner Morgan Freeman. And of course, the fourth name above the title on this poster is "And Introducing Butterscotch."
The horse
Is it
that
my horse,
it is Ben's
David?
horse.
Is it my kind horse? It looks a lot like him.
So I didn't know about butterscotch. Butterscotch is new to me.
Butterscotch is brand new to
So
all of us.
the poster said July 23rd.
It says
What-
come back to theaters July 23rd. We're like, what is this movie? When's it
We're
coming
like,
out?
what day is it today?
I say to Marie, isn't that today? And you go, no, that's not possible. That's not possible. That doesn't make any sense. That doesn't make any sense. So we pull out our phones and start checking. It is not playing anywhere in America.
No, I believe its release was either canceled or pushed to virtual.
It
or
is
whatever.
very surreal to stand there and look at a poster with the day that you are currently living in telling you, come back to theaters, and have that not be playing on one of the 25 screens at the establishment you're at with 3 Academy Award winners and introducing Butterscotch.
Yeah,
and
literally
it's-
right across from the Snake Eyes.
Right,
poster.
Snake Eyes is there.
I don't look. I got an email about the Comeback Trail like a couple weeks before it came out.
Release
It was
canceled due to total lack of interest.
No. Well, I mean, I think that's what happened, but
Sure.
but they certainly with like July 23rd, like screening links available. Like
Come back to theaters.
the movie is written and directed by George Gallo, who wrote Midnight Run.
He did?
I think it was made a very long time ago at this point.
I think so,
Zach
too.
Braff is in it, I
It's
believe.
so fucked up that Zach Braff got replaced by a horse
By
named
Butterscotch.
Butterscotch on the official poster.
Well,
Zach Braff, who invented podcasts.
sure, yes, of course, he was in
Twice.
startup, right? Twice, yep.
Right.
But yes, I think maybe they just decided to pretend like that happened with that movie about the snakes too, where they kept being like, "It's coming out this week, it's coming out." Actually, we're gonna put it out 6
What
months.
movie about this? Is that the
It's-
Sundance movie?
Yeah, was it called Them That Follow?
Oh,
or
yeah,
yes,
They That
yes,
Follow.
yes,
Yeah.
yes,
And that, anyway,
They've done that
number
a
one
couple
at the
times.
box office.
I just want to say, David, that of course the Comeback Trail is the film that gave us Robert De Niro's current Wikipedia photo, which you're obsessed with.
Oh, really?
You told me to look at this.
No, I know. I didn't know it was from. The
Are you
Comeback
getting
Trail.
home?
Yeah. When
No,
we
it's changed. Now
Oh.
it's just some picture.
But it
God,
was that.
time moves so fast.
Times move so.
Wait, but like, what was the?
I'm getting older.
You have to look up De Niro's poster for
Well, I
the
mean, I know
Comeback
he's
Trail.
got this like mustache or whatever.
Yeah,
right?
and it's
And like a fucking director's cap and like yeah.
He looks insane.
Okay, while he's doing this really quick, something I did want to say as my final thought is the title of this movie. Old.
Mm.
Old.
Old.
It's good. It's a good title.
Great
And I think
title.
more movies should just encapsulate
Yeah.
what the vibe is in just one fucking word.
Do you know the name of the new Jordan Peele movie, Ben? They just announced it last week.
Oh, it's so
No.
good. You're gonna love it.
What is it?
Nope.
Oh shit.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right?
Fuck yeah. That's
the,
good.
The poster is a cloud with like a fucking kite string coming out of it,
Yep.
and then just the 3 actor names. Nope.
Nope.
From Jordan
Wow.
Peele.
Who are the
Perfect.
3 actors again?
Stephen Yeun, Kiki
Yes.
Palmer, Daniel Kaluuya.
Great
Dang.
fucking cast. Love all 3 of them.
Number one at the box office is Old.
Yes.
15. A gentleman's 15.
16.8.
Okay. Okay. It went up a little on Sunday.
Is that
Yes.
domestic or
Domestic.
domestic?
Number 2, Griffin, is the other new big movie this week.
Snake Eyes.
Snake Eyes.
Rolled
G.I. Joe
an unlucky
Origins.
13 million, right?
Obviously, look, it's coming out at a trepidatious time for theaters.
Sure.
People are scared. But like, this is the thing with that and with Free Guy and with some of the stuff that's kind of clogging up
You and I
these
have been
months
talking about this.
pre-fall.
Right. Those were things
Where they're kind of like, well, we have this movie. Doesn't it have to come out?
Well, essentially, Snake Eyes had like fucking all these toys tied to it that had been
Right.
sitting in a warehouse for 2 years,
But
and they're
like,
like, "What are we gonna do?"
The thing was never going to do well, right? There's
Is-
no one cared.
Is Snake
it would
Eye
have done a
like,
little better.
Are they when you say there are so many toys like for children?
Yeah, G.I.
Both.
Joe's.
Both.
Well, I know it's
Both.
G.I. Joe's, but like
Both.
I just don't I've
Both,
seen
Marie.
trailers
Yeah.
for Snake Eyes.
Yep.
This is a movie that's being marketed to children?
Well,
I mean, it's a movie that they hoped could revitalize a brand that was originally popular with children. If you ask me, and I'm someone who kind of defends both of those
the
prior 2 films
yeah.
as fun
the
junk.
Summers movie and the
Right.
show movie. Right,
They're
yeah.
fun junk. Those movies very much, if
They're
I were
goofy.
6, would have made me want to buy all those action figures. And Snake Eyes from the trailer looks really fucking dour.
But this is the thing.
and it is one of those things where the
I mean,
toys
the
meant for
It
fucking
kids.
looks the same as the
Ghostbusters.
Mortal Kombat movie. I could not differentiate them.
This is all I was going to say. I won't go into a whole fucking merch spotlight corner here. It is very telling to me that G.I. Joe, Snake Eyes Origins, whatever the fuck it's called, a movie based on toys that is supposed to revitalize a toy brand for a toy company. They made all the toys look different than the movie because the movie characters look boring and they want to make the
boring 'cause
toys
they
more
look
colorful.
realistic. you
Right, so
know?
then maybe make the characters look like that in the fucking movie, or what's
this
the
is
point?
the thing. The Ghostbusters trailer dropped today, and
Yeah.
it stinks to high heaven, and it's
got
got
a
this
gun out seat.
portentous kind of like, oh, there's a legacy, and
Yeah.
like, and like it's got this fucking music, and I'm like, why is this what goes? It's so ridiculous.
We're
This
going
is
to
the
do
only
Ghostbusters
kind of
on
movie.
Patreon. I've been saying this for a while.
we'll
After
do
this one
the-
comes out,
yeah,
because
we'll do the
the
franchise.
study of 3 bites at the apple trying to figure out how to reproduce Ghostbusters, which all have very different approaches, is very fascinating to me.
Okay, I just want to say, I'll just out myself with it. I had a very much a Space Jam 2 reaction to the
You were-
trailer
you
because
were
I was
crying?
like, this is bad.
Yeah.
But I'm like, but also Ghostbusters is good.
Well, that's what they're
Gross.
like.
that's what they're trying to do.
I know.
Here's the thing. I know that movie is going to get me at moments. I'm already resenting it. Like, I'm not excited for that movie, and I know I'm going to sit there and it's going to fucking trick me into feeling shit like twice.
I didn't
Twice.
see Ghostbusters until like 7 years ago.
Uh-huh.
I've only seen one, haven't seen any of the others.
Mhm.
I don't understand what the emotional connection
There
is.
is
none.
It's
There
just
is
I
none.
mean, we were
movie's
kids.
gonna-
and
the
we
movie's
liked
gonna
it,
do it
you
where it's
know?
gonna be like, oh, well, they're descended from, but like, no, there is none.
I will say this.
There's no like emotion. Like I didn't really get like a
It's
big emotional
silly,
arc.
fun
It's just
movie
silly
about
and fun.
busted ghosts.
There's nothing. There's nothing. We will do our Patreon series about this. I have 1,000 thoughts. I just want to plug our friend Patrick Willems, friend of the podcast, past and future guest, did a great video about the first Ghostbusters, asking the question, is Ghostbusters the best movie that is about nothing? And his argument is Ghostbusters is the only movie that is that good that has no thematic depth to it whatsoever.
Right, there's no like larger. It's just bustin' makes you feel good. Look, anyway,
Did you say busted makes you
It
feel
does.
that's what the song says, and it does.
Why are you getting angry at David? Who are you going to call, Marie?
Number 3 at the box office is a film from the Walt Disney Company. That one of their subsidiary branches produces
has a
movies
gunner
about
seat.
superheroes.
I'm sorry, you said it's a movie about superheroes?
Yeah, they have Walt Disney owns a brand that produces comic book inspired movies about
It's
superheroes.
called Black Widow.
Yeah.
Right. I forgot that it jumped up above Space Jam.
It sure did.
It sure did.
Yeah, because Space Jam dropped 69%. Nice.
Really nice.
Yeah,
I
Black
just-
Widow.
Can I listeners
Finally, she's got her own movie. Heroic.
listeners of the
She
podcast, I
defeats
would love
Ray
you
Winstone.
to at us on Twitter if you saw both Black Widow and Old and think that Black Widow is a better movie.
Yeah, look, I
Whatever.
look,
I mean, you're allowed.
no, I agree with Marie here, where it's like I don't say that as like a provocation. I would be interested in hearing that.
Yeah. Well,
I'm not gonna fucking clown on people. I'm actually curious because I do feel like Black Widow is peak my problem with Marvel, and we've gone over this. They're Marvel movies I love. They're ones I tolerate. Black Widow is everything I dislike in the Marvel movies, where I'm just like, it sucks. It has fucking no flavor. It's got no character. It's got no personality. But I guess for some people, it does nothing weird enough to upset you. Versus a Shyamalan thing where he's gonna like push you and poke you and prod you into things. Black Widow, for some people, it's like I can sit here and it's just a fucking passive experience that never.
Well, that's my
makes me
problem with
scratch
the
my
movie.
head.
Is it feels like
That's
the
my
main
exact
character
problem.
is having a passive experience.
That's my
well,
exact.
I just
problem.
want to
my
know
issue with the
people
film.
who prefer Black Widow to the films of M. Night Shyamalan. What do you want out of a movie?
I don't know. Maybe a movie that features Ray Winstone saying "Widows,
Saying what?
widows."
Widows.
That's right. Like
On Russian.
Old is what I want out of a movie. It's what I want out of a theater going experience.
She should have put him on the old beach. That would have taken care of him. Instead, she's got to break her own nose or whatever to defeat him.
Kind of like
It's
that
just
moment.
wild. I mean, I like that Ray Winstone's in the movie, but it's just like after 13 years, Black Widow will finally get her movie.
A businessman with thick-rimmed glasses.
Who's the ultimate villain? Ray Winstone's like, I'm Russian, aren't
Right.
I?
Right.
It's me, the Russian man.
Yeah.
Like, it's just like, this is it.
That's like the only sequence of the movie that has any juice for
It's
me.
true.
Where
It's
just
true. It's not even bad. He's
And
doing
there's
a good job.
no bones that rattle once.
Don't
Yeah,
think
that
so.
was
No
huge for
rattling
Ben.
bones.
that was huge for Ben.
All right, number 4 at the box office is a film we discussed last week on the podcast.
Space Jam 2.
That's right.
A New Legacy should have been called Cyberspace Jam.
Yeah. Big drop.
Yeah, it didn't go down like 77%.
69%. Nice.
Look, my dad loves to boost blank check on his LinkedIn.
Sure does.
He's a real proud dad.
I should friend him.
You should. Oh, you should.
You're gonna get clap emojis.
You're gonna get a lot of
On your
clap
grams.
emojis. And what's the prayer hands as
Oh,
well?
I love your dad on Instagram.
Yeah, he's great on Instagram. Famously hacked on Instagram. But I don't remember if it was his Instagram or his LinkedIn, but I sent to you guys. He posted with pride that the Space Jam episode was doing well. He gets doubly excited when, James or
Yeah, there's
Romley are on an
multiple
episode. We have
Newmans.
multiple
Right,
Newmans
right,
on
right.
one episode or whatever. But he had this like all caps caption under the screen grab of us on the Apple chart that sounded violent, where he's like
yelling.
Griffin and David and James dominating the charts, number 3 with their Space Jam episode that is almost 3 hours long. And I was like, Dad, you don't have to mention that it's almost 3 hours long. That's a point of
Far too
embarrassment.
long.
We hadn't seen each
I
other in a
appreciate
while.
his
It was
enthusiasm.
first in
always.
person.
Number 5 at the box office is a film we also all saw together.
The movie is called F9, The Fast Saga, Our Return to
Oh,
Theaters. The
That's
movies
still
are
in the
back.
top 5.
Still in the top 5. Number 6 is
Holding
Escape
well.
Room 2.
That already came out.
Number
I know. I
7
need
is
to-
Boss Baby 2.
Well, you're making some
Family
money off of
business,
that one, right?
baby.
Talk
Number
about
8 is
family-
Forever Purge, which really kind of came and went.
Rules.
It made
I
40
think
million.
it rules. I think it rules. It might be my favorite Purge movie.
That's a hot
When are
take.
you
I've
guys
never
covering
watched
Purge?
those Purge
Ben,
They're good.
movies.
You'd
They're
like-
good. We gotta do them. We
Ben.
gotta do a commentary.
Oh, I
series.
like the Purges.
Yeah,
Ben,
the Purges
you
rule. I
would,
think the new one rules.
you would dig the Purge.
Have you
movies.
seen Forever, David?
No, I haven't seen that
It's
one.
really good.
I'm going to.
It's really good.
Number 9 is Quiet Place Part 2.
Solid.
And then, we got new entrant here, Joe Bell, formerly called Good Joe Bell.
Oh,
Mark
God.
Wahlberg is a dad whose kid he's walking.
Walk hard.
Yeah.
Well,
it's
do you
not very
guys?
good.
Can I spoil the twist of Joe
I've
Bell?
seen the film. Yeah.
Is it
spoiler
true?
alert for Joe Bell.
Is it true that you don't know the twist that the kid is dead until the end of the movie.
You can
What?
guess. You can
fucked
guess
up.
that the kid is a ghost. The
But
kid
it's
is.
a real
based
story.
on
It's
a
the
real
whole fucking
story.
Yeah, but
thing.
he's talking to his kid the whole time while he walks, and
But they don't. let you
no,
know?
they don't. No, but I
That's
mean,
weird. You know what's even weirder?
it's not. You know what? It's this kind of movie where you're like, you know what? There's a good version of this movie, maybe, and this
Cary
is just kind of a
Fukunaga
boring.
almost directed that movie.
Hmm?
Cary Fukunaga almost directed that movie.
Yeah, yeah.
It's got a
And
producer
the
credit.
director-
Isn't the director kind
Ronaldo
of good?
Marcus Green.
Yeah.
Who's good?
He's at least like there's a good version. Everyone's trying hard in that movie.
Yeah.
It's just very perfect. It's interesting to see
oof.
Wahlberg give a performance, even though the movie's not good.
Look,
He's trying to tamp himself down, and it's sort of like, okay, but
you know how he like doesn't do an accent in that other movie that just came out,
what
the other
other
one?
movie that
the
just came out?
Fuqua movie.
Infinite.
That movie is so bad.
Someone told
That
me
movie is
I don't
that
know
he
if there is
doesn't-
a
he, like,
movie that went
doesn't-
straight to streaming that has made less of an impact
I mean,
than
to
that
be fair, it
one.
went straight to Paramount Plus, which I subscribe to
Even
for like
still.
Star Trek, but
Yeah.
like
Yeah,
no one
RuPaul's
does.
Drag
But
Race.
like that movie, I threw it on because I'm like, look, Fuqua is not a director I love, but like he tends to make pretty robust, watchable,
It's like a
stupid
2-star
movies.
general. Right.
Yeah, and like Chiwetel's the villain.
Yeah.
And like half the fucking movie is them being like, Mark Wahlberg, you're like a samurai because of reincarnation. He's like,
I am
what
a
are
samurai.
you talking about?
What are you talking about?
What are you talking? Who's
Give me a
this?
sword.
Who's this guy? And you're just like, it is the worst fit of star to recent.
Look, the
action
Joe Bell
hit.
thing for me is interesting only because Mark Wahlberg has such a fucking messy past
Yeah.
with protected groups.
But
the
it's
idea
not-
of him doing this movie about persecuted
Yeah, but-
people
right?
and someone sort of like gaining a conscience and
But
all that
he's
sort
not,
of shit.
He's not bold enough, one, to talk about that in public,
Of course.
and two, it's just that doesn't really feel like it's like his performance in the movie is not strong enough that you're like,
Yeah.
oh, I really feel like he's working through something here.
It's odd, but it's also like he fucking willed this movie into existence. To a certain degree, he really wanted to do this. It plays at fucking TIFF or whatever, and
it's
then
also just funny that it was called Good Joe Bell, and they were like, you know what, drop the good.
drop the good.
He's just Joe Bell.
Yeah, let's not
Let's
overdo
not go
it here.
crazy.
But that movie got bought by what was it called? Solstice Studios, who released the Russell Crowe car movie,
Yeah.
Drive Angry.
What was it called?
It should have been called Drive Angry. It was called Unhinged. I'm making a joke. I know the title, folks. Don't at me. But they were like, we're gonna reopen the theaters. Unhinged, first movie in theaters. Solstice is gonna make a huge fucking splash. They buy Joe Bell for $20 million, and they're like, we're gonna re-edit it. We think there's a masterpiece here. And then 6 weeks later, they're like, no, we're not. We're gonna let Roadside release it in
Oh,
6 months
God.
quietly.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know what happened to Solstice.
Can I
though.
just say a
Yes,
thing?
but we need to be done. But yeah.
No, I know, but this is putting a bow on this box office game. As you said, it's a volatile time. It's a weird time. Delta, it feels like we're the fucking coin on its side. It's an
What will
Inception
happen
top.
for the
What's
next
going to
few
happen?
months,
Right,
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
But I also do think there's this thing that I think to some degree we need to accept, whether it's for the indefinite future or it's a permanent thing of just like the thing we have perhaps lost. I go back to you saying like, well, Snake Eyes was never going to do well,
Sure.
right? But the version of Snake Eyes that would have bombed 2 years ago would have made $60 million.
Yeah. No, it would have done better.
Right.
Bad.
Because aside from the people like us who are fucking hardcore lunatics and are going to defend the movie theaters for as long as we can,
Yeah.
right? There used to be people who'd go like, I don't know, it's Friday, what's out? There's a fucking Snake Eyes movie, why not?
No, you're losing
now-
the casual moviegoer. It's
I
true.
think we've largely lost the casual moviegoer, and who knows if they come back or not. But with a lot of these movies, it's just like there's no default audience. People are making very strategic choices about very specific movies they want to see, and they're not going to see anything passively.
Right, and that could change, but
It could change.
it's not something movie theaters can really control. Honestly.
No.
Anyway, all right, but old is good. We got to
Old is
wrap up.
great.
Old is good.
Old rules.
We
Can I
gotta-
say it?
Can you guess?
I think it's a Glasterpiece.
Yeah, it's a Glasterpiece. But you know what? I actually think it's better than that because I think Glasterpiece means something a little specific where it's like
It's when you make a movie called Glass. It's also a masterpiece.
right, but also it's sort of like a movie where it's like, well, maybe old fits.
Yeah.
A movie that befuddles, but you're like, no, this is special. It's
It's
not
befuddler.
flawed but interesting.
You
It's
could call
above
this
that.
movie Elmer Fudd.
Okay,
What?
okay, sure.
Remember Space Jam?
No, Notorious P.I.G.
The fucking okay. So you guys were saying
We got to be done.
I know, but
don't,
I
don't
just-
start another tangent.
it's
What are you
very
doing?
short.
Okay. What is it?
Big Chungus. I didn't know what Big Chungus was, and you were like, "Oh, they put Big Chungus in Space Jam," and you were like, "Oh, he's this fucking Bugs Bunny meme, right?" And they put a reference into it. Were you saying that to me, Ben?
That wasn't me.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know.
I thought it happened on Mike, but someone was telling me like, "Well, they put Big Chungus in there," and I was like, "What's this fucking Big Chungus like Photoshop?" And I looked at it and I was like, "That's a classic cartoon. He does an impression of Elmer Fudd. That's the context in which it happened. Whatever, bad tangent.
But it's become a meme. Oh yeah, when he's big, right?
Yeah.
But it's him. That's when he does his Elmer Fudd
become
impression.
a meme. Because like Bugs Bunny reaction shots
Right.
are now like
Song
a sort of
off
internet
Florida.
language.
I like
right.
the one where he's in the tuxedo.
Yeah,
and it's
exactly. I wish all my blank a
Right.
pleasant blank. Yeah, exactly.
But all of those are like taking a Bugs Bunny thing and turning into something different.
Bugs Bunny's cool.
Yeah, Bugs Bunny rules. He was my favorite movie star.
I'm so sorry, Griffin.
It sucks.
Space Jam. Anyway, old's good.
Old's
Take us
great.
out. Kill the podcast. It's time for it to die.
It's time for the podcast to die quietly on the beach as we stare off into
Holding
the water.
hands, clinking its bones.
Consider whether it's worth going through the coral. Why does the uncle hate the coral so much?
His uncle hates the coral.
Folks, thank you so much for listening. Please remember to rate, review, subscribe, and get old. Ben shaking his head because I refuse to say
Like or whatever. Follow. Right. That's what it is. Even I don't.
We're too old to change our ways at this point.
Yeah, we're old as shit now. I don't know how old I am anymore. Thank you to
Marie Bardi.
for our social media and for being on the show. You're the best, Marie.
Thanks, Griffin.
Excited to all get old together.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Thank you to Joe Bone and Pat Reynolds for our artwork. Thank you to Lane Montgomery and the Great American Novel for our theme song. Thank you to AJ McKeon and Alex Barron for our editing.
Mhm.
JJ Birch and Nick Loriano didn't do research for this episode, but guess what? We're going to throw them the
They'll be
thanks
back.
anyway because they're part of the family and we love them and we'll get old on a beach together. Tune in next week for
Yeah.
John
Star-
Carpenter.
Star-
Hell yeah.
John
Dark
Carpenter.
Star.
Because Hotel Transylvania 4 got pushed back. We're starting Carpenter earlier than we expected. So yes, next week, Dark Star. Should we say who the guest is?
Emily Yoshida.
Emily Yoshida, Mother Blanky's back to
Mama.
kick off a new series.
Mama.
Mama.
It's a good app. We do a lot of Google Maps stuff in that one.
It's a good app. And like, if you've enjoyed the Space Jam app and right, I forgot that whole thing. There's a whole
Well,
weird
we don't need to
Zillow-
say anything else.
Sure.
I just the little tease.
If you've enjoyed the energy in Space Jam and old of us being in the same room again, chronologically, Dark Star was recorded earlier, but Ben and Emily only are in the same room.
They sure are.
And they are as goofy as we have been, and David and I are like, harumph. Go to patreon.com/blank check. We're about to do those Riddick movies.
Mhm.
We're getting Pitch
Mhm.
Black.
Mhm.
With Dicky Riddick.
Dickie Riddick.
Richard Riddick, it's his name.
Richard B. Riddick.
Yeah.
It never stopped being funny. At blankies.red.com for some real nerdy shit. And as always, everyone got to the joke before me, but I'm still gonna make it. I love old.
That's good.
Thank you.